Chapter 10, Listing Agreements. In this chapter, we're going to describe the different types of listing agreements. We're going to identify information necessary for disclosure and properly pricing the property. So, I put together this slide for you. What is a listing? A listing is when a property owner hires a real estate brokerage to market their property to find them a ready, willing, and able buyer or renter. In real estate, there's an important saying I know because I I made it up. It's called "If you don't list, you won't last." Agents should spend about 70% of their time trying to get listings. Because if you're always working with buyers and renters, you're always going to be running around like a chicken with their head cut off, showing them properties, trying to get a sale, trying to get something under contract. And you can't ever go on vacation or stay at home sick because if you're not out there running around like a chicken with their head cut off, showing properties to people, you ain't getting paid. But if you got a listing, you could stay at home, you could go to the beach, you could go on vacation, take a little time off, and other agents will be showing your listings and possibly bringing buyers or renters to them and then putting contracts in, and you still get paid when they sell your listing. So there's also an added bonus. You could also have the opportunity of selling your own listing and then getting both sides of the commission, the seller side and the buyer side. Twice the commission, one deal. Not bad. So agents should spend about 70% of their time trying to get listings. That's my recommendation. So don't forget to reinvest in your business to market and try to get those listings. So working more with owners and concentrate on getting listings. If you're only working with buyers, okay, this is basically saying that little story of what I just told you about why if you don't list, you don't last, okay? That's for other instructors. I already know what the story is because that's me that typed it up. So I'm not going to read it over again, but I will. Make a little modification to this because it's not showing fully on screen. Oh, there it is. Now it is. That was weird. Okay, so listing the property. Only a broker can act as an agent to list, sell, or rent another person's real estate exclusively. What does that mean when we hear the word exclusively? That means that your agency was exclusively hired by the owner to market their property for sale or rent. They didn't go to 10 different companies and hire them all to try to market the property. Your agency was hired exclusively as their agent to market the property for sale or lease. And New Jersey statute of frauds stipulates that to be entitled to a commission on a real estate transaction, a listing broker must have some sort of written authorization to act as their broker. You can't just market somebody's property for sale or rent without the owner's permission. Does that make sense? So the statute of frauds, anytime we hear that term, it usually requires something be in writing. So we can't market an owner's property without their permission. Authorization has to be in writing in order for us to earn a commission. So we got to have those brokerage service agreements now, which some listing agreements have the brokerage service agreement within them, others do not. So you may have to have a listing agreement as well as the brokerage service agreement that says about the commissions part. So listing agreements must be supplied to the owner in writing within 5 days if we take a verbal listing. I don't suggest it, even though you're allowed to. I don't suggest it. Because what if they change their mind? Now you're putting it in the MLS, and then you go try to get the follow up to get the paperwork in writing later, and they say, you know what, just remembered my wife's sister, she just got her real estate license, so we're going to give her a chance. And I'm like, but I already put it in the MLS. I need paperwork. So that's why I don't suggest that you get verbal listings, because it doesn't matter. When we get a listing, it's got to go into the MLS within Within what time frame?
48 hours.
48 hours. Unless the owner directs us not to, and then we need to get them to sign something in writing called the waiver of broker cooperation agreement. So this is if you take a verbal listing, it's got to be followed up with it in writing within 5 days. Okay. I don't suggest take any verbal listings. All right. So let's see, what do they say here? To acquire their inventories, brokers and salespeople have to obtain listings, which are the properties that they're authorized to offer for sale or rent. Only a broker can act as an agent to list, sell, or rent another person's real estate. We, as real estate agents, we do that under our broker's name, our brokerage's name, which we work for. And they may authorize us to sign listing agreements directly with the public under their name. So, New Jersey statute of fraud stipulates that to be entitled to a commission on a real estate transaction, a listing broker has to have a written authorization to act as the client's broker. And the rate or exact amount of commission has to be stated. And a definite termination date. Oh, they made that one word. Definite termination is one word now. Look at that. So, definite termination date has to be in that agreement. And if the agreement's entered into orally, the broker must deliver a written memorandum of the agreement to the client within 5 days of that agreement. Okay, everybody got the highlight there? Page 165. All right, so listing agreements, brokerage service agreements, they must state the following in order to be valid. The listing agreements no longer, in many cases, talk about commissions anymore on them, except for the Garden State MLS, and then there's another one that used to be called Trend. I forget what they're called now. They talk about the commissions in it. But Middlesex County MLS, now called All Jersey MLS, they're a bit of a cowards, and they did not. They do not talk about the commissions and include that in their agreements, which I'm going to bring up at our next stockholder meeting, which is coming up this October, which is actually opening up membership to the Middlesex County or All Jersey MLS now to others within the public. So here's my invitation to that All Jersey MLS stockholders meeting coming up October 23rd. Pines Manor. So I'll bring that question up there. Let me make a note so I don't forget it. uh, there we go. See, I'm looking out for you guys too. Yeah, I work in the industry too still. So might as well try to get them to improve things while they're trying to get us to vote on changes. Good time to have the leverage to do it. All right, so uh, in order to charge a commission, we have to have some sort of an agreement in writing, a listing agreement or a brokerage service agreement that talks about the fees we're charging the public for the services we're about to perform. So the rate or exact amount of commission to be earned by the broker must be stated, who's going to pay for it and all that. So in New Jersey, the brokerage service agreements cannot have the commission pre-typed in. The commission must be written in and must be only expressed as a percentage of the sales price or a dollar amount. Because if it was already pre-typed in, when exactly was it negotiated? Remember, in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable. Otherwise, you're engaging in price fixing. So it has to be a blank line that you fill it in writing. No prescribed fee schedules allowed. This isn't negotiable when you give limited choices to pick one 6%, 7%, 8%, 9%, or 10% commission. Pick one. That's not negotiable, right? That's just giving you a limited prescribed fee schedule to select from. And our listing agreements must specify a definite termination date in the agreement. You don't just put in there, yeah, the listing starts today, but when does it end? 6 months from now? Well, put a date there. It needs to be on the agreement. I don't know. Some agents, they become a little cowardice and they don't put the end date because they don't want to say how long of a listing they want to have. They don't want to discuss it. Well, I don't discuss it. I usually just write it in. This is how long the listing's for. And then if the owner wants to now discuss that and try to negotiate on a lower listing agreement, well, we could discuss that, but I'm writing in there 6 months or a year. Okay. That's how long I take listings for, either 6 months or a year. Yeah. I don't do that 1 month listing nonsense. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Owner, I need you to help me help you sell your property. And to do that, you need to give me some time, because some of the marketing that we want to use to advertise your property takes some while to get it published. First, we need to make the ad copy. Then it needs to go through through the publisher. Then they give us back the ad copy if it was approved or not. And then we got to wait for the print date to come about. Then the magazines get printed. Then they get distributed out to the locations. Then you need a little lead time for people to walk by and actually pick them up and browse through them and call us and make inquiries about the properties. So if you don't give us that kind of time, why am I going to waste the money advertising your property in these magazines that go in the food stores? Like when you walk out, you see all the real estate magazines there, or at the Parkway or Turnpike rest stops and all that. These magazines are at these places for shopping for houses. They get distributed, but we need time for that to get out there. And if you're not giving me that time, I'm not putting my money out there for you. You're going to get a lot less advertising than you normally would. All right, so there are 3 typical types of listing agreements here. The first one, I don't even think it's a listing. It's called an open listing, where an owner of real estate is free to list their property with any number of agents, all acting as their agent. No, thank you. These types of listing agreements do not require an expiration date in them, because the homeowner is not bound by anybody. They're free to list it with 10 different agents if they want. All marketing, spending their dollars and advertising and marketing this property, and only going to get paid a commission if they bring the buyer. No, thank you. Not for me. We also have exclusive agency listings and exclusive right to sell listings. Put a little smiley face there next to that one. See, look familiar? Okay. So we're going to learn about the differences of these 3 types of listings here. So let's start off with the open listing. An open listing is a unilateral contract. A unilateral contract is uni means one. It's a one-sided agreement or promise. Only one party's required to do something. So it's open to any number of brokers, all representing the owner as their agent, to market their property, but not exclusively as their agent. The word exclusive is nowhere there. It says open. So it's an open relationship, so to speak. Okay. So even though these things are getting popular in today's society, most people are not interested in becoming involved in open relationships, right? So in your business, do you want an open relationship with your client where they're free to see other people, other agents? Probably not. You don't want to be spending your time and investing your time in this people that are then telling you from the beginning, I'm going to be seeing others too. So you may not want to put all your eggs in that basket. And because the owner is not bound to one agency, there's no need for an expiration date in this listing type. It's not put in the MLS because there's no expiration date on it, first of all. And what are we going to do? Have 10 different agencies listing the same property at the same time? So only the agency who brings the buyer will be paid a commission, the buyer's side of the commission only. So the seller is not committing to exclusively work for a single agency, but the agency is bound to represent them and market their property still. Yeah, so I got to be faithful to you, but you don't got to be faithful to me. Yeah, I'm just showing you the different way that these relationships correspond to personal relationships, you know. Tell me if this would work for you. All right, so let's do the highlight here now, talking about what an open listing is on page 166. Okay, everybody got? All right. So when we use the word exclusive on our signs, that means that the owner signed a waiver of broker cooperation agreement and they only want their listing listed by your company, but they only want buyers introduced that the listing agency finds. They don't want to work with any outside agencies at all. So that's what the word exclusive typically means when it's put on a real estate sign, when it says exclusive broker. However, the word exclusive in a listing simply means that your agency was hired to exclusively represent the seller or owner to market their property for sale or lease. But if they have a sign that has the word exclusive broker on it, that means that they don't want to work with any outside agencies. They signed that waiver of broker cooperation agreement, so you're not supposed to put it in the MLS within 48 hours like normally. Instead, you're just to market this property through your own resources and find your own buyer or renter. Okay. So that waiver of broker cooperation form, that's your cover your booty form, because licensing law requires you by law when you get a listing to put it in the MLS within 48 hours, unless the owner directs you not to. They're the only person that can. And then you need to have them sign that cover your booty form because you're supposed to put it in the MLS according to the administrative code. And if you do not, you need to get that owner to sign that waiver of broker cooperation agreement. That would be the only reason why you would not put it in within 48 hours. Okay. To show, because we are required to cooperate with all other brokers, and the way we cooperate with them is we put the listing in the MLS. By having the owner sign the waiver of broker cooperation, we're just covering our butts, having them sign the document that says, yes, they did order us not to put it in the MLS, to cooperate with other brokers. That's all that does. It's a cover your booty form. Okay? That's the way I relate it. So if it's a form the owner signed, okay, we already went over all this. It's according to the administrative code. This is a way you can get those secret pocket listings, and if the owner directs it. You should never introduce that form to the owner, though, the waiver of broker cooperation form, unless they bring up the fact that they don't want you to cooperate with other brokers. You should never suggest that they do not, because by cooperating with other brokers, we could sell the property faster and at a higher price as it gets more exposure than were we not to cooperate with other brokers. Now, I got a little note here. What does this note say? It says, as an added bonus of any exclusive listing, since we're marketing the property and the buyers are looking for properties, not for agents, we have the opportunity of getting both sides of the transaction and double the pay in one transaction. So we could get the commission from both sides of the deal, working with and representing both the seller as well as the buyer or the landlord and the tenant. Of course, we need to get their permission to work as a disclosed dual agent and represent the seller and not the buyer by working with the buyers as a transaction broker while representing the seller as their agent. So those are two ways that we can do it, either work as a dual agent or represent the seller only, and then work with the buyer as a transaction broker. Okay. Here's an agent. They had the owner sign a waiver of broker cooperation agreement, and then they still put it in the MLS. Why would you do that? So this person got a $3,500 fine for that and had to take some CE classes. Yikes. Okay, exclusive agency listings. We're going to get right into those right after lunch. So let me pause. All right, so exclusive agency listings, only one agency is exclusively hired to market that property for sale. That's what exclusive agency listing is. Only one real estate agency is exclusively hired to market that property for sale. That's what it means when you have the word exclusive in front of the type of listing. So exclusive agency, only one agency is exclusively hired to market the property for sale or rent. And in this type of listing, the seller reserves the right not to pay us a commission if they find their own buyer with an exclusive agency type listing. Now, this sometimes causes a conflict of interest between the agent and the owner who may be trying to avoid paying us a commission. All right. So I don't like these types of listings. I like the exclusive right to sell better. But other agencies can show the property. We do cooperate with them under this type of a listing. The owner pays a commission if the listing agency or an outside agency brings the buyer or renter, but not if the owner does. So let's highlight exclusive agency listing. If the seller finds a buyer with no help from the broker, the seller retains the right to sell the property without obligation to the broker, meaning they don't need to pay us a commission if they find their own buyer. Okay, everybody good? Everybody got it? All right. Here's another reason why I don't like exclusive agency listings. What kind of picture does this paint to you? You got the real estate broker sign here, followed by all these for sale by owner signs that owners trying to compete and get people to call them directly so that you don't earn the commission. If somebody just drives by and sees a sign, I could do that myself, you know. Over here, they're already trying to screw you out of your commission. But what does this tell you as a buyer when you see something like this? What's the impression that you get if you're a buyer?
You're in a rush to sell.
You're in a rush to sell or you're desperate, right? Look at all them signs. That's a cry of desperation right there. I could probably get a good deal on this one, huh? Yeah. I've seen them take the for sale by owner sign and put it on top of our real estate sign so it's up higher. And then I've seen them take some masking tape and cover the brokerage's phone number and then put their own phone number on it. Yeah. You know, our listing agreements specifically state that our real estate sign is to be the only sign that's on the property. But yet they do this. You know, city ordinances have laws against this too. They could get fined for this too. I like this one. Good meme. Recalled. They've been proven to be ineffective. These signs have been recalled. They've been proven to be ineffective. Why? Because it's a very small amount of people actually sell by owner. Many try, but how many actually end up selling by owner? It's not that many in the grand scheme of things. You know, I've got the number from like the last survey I seen from a couple years back, but Now, let me see if I could find out if our AI here has any knowledge about it. So let me ask my AI on my computer here. Um, what percentage of FISBOs successfully sell on their own? Sell their homes on their own. There we go. Did we get a little research out of this? Well, it looks like it creeped up a little bit, I guess, with technology. My mine ends up telling me here. You know, I just asked Copilot, as you guys can see, says only about 11% of for sale by owner sellers successfully complete the sale without having a real estate agent involved. It used to be more like around 5. So I guess it doubled, but it's still a low number. So yeah, this sign is recalled because it's been proven ineffective. Yeah, I would say so, even if it's only 11%, right? But I can understand why somebody would want to sell by owner. They're trying to save all that money on the commission. I understand it, right? Don't hate them because of it, but try to convince them. Let them know, hey, listen, good luck. I hope you're able to sell on your own and save yourself all that money on commission. But if at any point in this transaction, you feel like you want the help of a full-time real estate professional that could assist you in the sale of your home, I'd be glad to assist you with that. You know, give them your business cards and be on your way. Uh, but don't get rude with them. You know, if they don't want to sell with a real estate agent, and even if they got a little bit of an attitude, you know, calmer heads prevail. You know, so stay calm, still be polite. And you never know. At some point in time, maybe they will get frustrated with this trying to sell on their own. As we just saw, 90% of people that try to sell on their own fail. So that's a huge number. So you think that this is a segment of people you may want to reach out to possibly get listings? Sure. Now you're gonna get pushback because they don't want to spend the money, but eventually they will. How about this one? This exactly doesn't scream confidence. This is a picture I took in Rawway. For sale by broker owner. Wow. So you don't even list with your own company. For sale by broker owner. Doesn't exactly scream confidence in your, you're trying to convince other people to list by you instead of sell by owner. And then this guy over here, he's trying to sell by owner. Oh, jeez. All right. So these are the listings I like. So exclusive right to sell. Only one agency, once again, exclusively, because it begins with the word exclusive, only one agency is exclusively hired to market that property for sale or rent. Other agencies can still show the property, just like with an exclusive agency listing. But the seller pays us a commission no matter who brings the buyer. So during the listing term, while the listing's in effect, even if the owner finds their own buyer or renter, we still get paid. So the seller may be obligated to pay a commission even after a listing expires. If they go under contract with anyone who was introduced to the property during the listing term, and the property was not relisted by another agency, this is usually no more than 6 months after the listing expires, we could still have these broker protection clauses in there that say that we are still entitled to that commission. So draw that little smiley face there. That's the type of listing you want to get. And then highlight here that an exclusive right to sell listing, one broker is appointed as the sole agent of the seller and is given an exclusive authorization to represent the property in question. The seller must pay the broker a commission regardless of who sells the property if it's sold while the listing is in effect. And we still even have on top of that broker protection clauses that even after the listing expires, we may still be due a commission if the owner, if anybody that we introduce to the property gets under contract with the owner within the protection period, even after the listing expires, because it was somebody that was introduced to the property through our advertising or marketing efforts.
And how do we find out?
Well, as long as they didn't relist the property. Well, showing appointments, open house sign-in sheets, etc. Okay, so here's the back of a listing agreement. It shows you that there's a broker protection clause. They're also found in our brokerage service agreements. The owner agrees to pay a listing broker a commission if the owner, acting on the owner's own behalf within, let's just say 180 days, 6 months, after the expiration date, conveys or agrees to convey the property to any buyer shown the property by the listing broker or any person during the term, or any person during the listing term of this agreement. This clause shall not apply if the property has been listed by the owner with another broker or written agreement. So even after the listing expires, anybody introduced by us to the property or any other person during the term of the listing agreement, we would still be owed a commission. And here I just got a bunch of links to the latest Garden State MLS listing agreement with the buyer's brokerage service agreement there that talks about our commissions. This is a pretty good one. Then we have New Jersey Realtors brokerage service agreements for buyers and renters. I don't like that one so much. Then we have the listing agreement from All Jersey MLS. Does not include the brokerage service agreement, so therefore it does not talk about commissions at all in it, so therefore it's pretty much useless. We got the New Jersey Attorney General's memorandum here. You could see, take a look at all the listing input sheets and forms that the Garden State MLS uses. Each MLS will have their own. Coming soon listings, those delayed showings, and if a listing is for housing for older persons, we need that housing for older persons addendum that's required by HUD. Okay, otherwise we're taking a listing and advertising it and discriminating against people with families, with children perhaps. Here's the type of listings and a little chart I put together so you could see at a glance. We get paid when the listing agency finds the buyer with all these types. If an outside agency finds a buyer with an open listing, you do not get paid, but with an exclusive agency or exclusive right to sell, we do. And if the seller finds their own buyer with an open listing or an exclusive agency, they don't have to pay us a commission, but with an exclusive right to sell, they do. So which type of listing would you rather have?
Right to sell.
Damn Skippy. So if you want to snap a picture of this chart, it's nowhere in the book. It's just a chart I made up where you can see at a glance when we're owed a commission with the different types of listing agreements. Okay, everybody good? Net listings are illegal. Yes, they are not legal here in New Jersey. I don't know why they would be legal anywhere. And even in states where they are legal, the Realtors Association does not allow us to use them because they're not good. What is a net listing? A net listing is where an owner tells you how much money they want to net from the sale, and any amount you get over that amount, you get to keep as your commission. First of all, how would you even write that in a listing agreement? So just highlight in the book, net listing illegal in New Jersey. There's only 3 states that it is legal in now. The MLS is the multiple listing system or service, and that's where we put our listings in those computer systems, that database, to share it with other real estate agencies. Unless the owner directed us not to, of course, and then we have to only sell that property by the marketing efforts of our own agency. By sharing our listings with each other, however, we could sell properties faster and at a higher price than were we not to list it. Because then we have all those other thousands of agents that may be working with 1 or 2 buyers that may be looking in this area in this price range for this type of property, So the likelihood of selling it goes up. The likelihood of bidding wars ensuing goes up. All good for the seller. So net listings illegal in New Jersey. And what is a net listing? The owner tells you how much money they want in their pocket, and any amount above that you get, you could keep as your commission. In a nutshell. But I made a slide here that gets more in-depth explanation because sometimes people ask for it. So this is beyond what you need to know for exams, but it gets you really into the depth of why it's illegal, etc. So the seller tells the agent how much money they want to net from the sale, and the agent can set the asking price and keep anything they get above that amount as the commission. It lends itself to fraud, and it's not in the seller's best interest. Because most times real estate agents, we already guide homeowners on how much their home is worth. And they usually want way above that. So it's hard enough for us to get our commission. Now just imagine that your commission was based on an amount that you get over the amount that the owner wants to get in their pocket. It lends itself to fraud and lying, doing a little fibbing to the homeowner about how much their home is really worth. Maybe about telling them it's worth actually less than it is, so that we know that we could get this much, and there'll be some padding in between, and that will be our commission. So that's another reason why it's illegal. So it's not very ethical to do it. So how do net listings work? Well, they're only legal in 3 states, Texas, Florida, and California. But there's little nuances that make them legal in those areas too. So in net listing, the seller sets the minimum amount they want to receive from the sale on their property. And anything above that amount becomes the agent's compensation. For instance, if the seller wants to net $400,000 and the agent sells the home for $475,000, the agent gets to keep the difference, the $75,000. So unlike traditional percentage-based commissions, this structure gives the agent direct incentive to sell the property for as much as possible, but it also opens the door to potential abuses, like lying to your clients about the value of the property, so you could earn more. So when they're legal, they're legal in these 3 states. However, California, they're legal only with sophisticated or independent represented clients in full disclosure. I don't know how you're going to prove that they were sophisticated or independent, right? Texas, they're legal, but the seller must require it and be clearly familiar with the market values. In Florida, it's legal. There's no extra statutory conditions, but NAR members are still prohibited from using them. So Florida doesn't have any rules pertaining to net listings, which that's strange, but either way, if you're a member of NAR, National Association of Realtors, we're prohibited from using net listings anyway. So I'm not sure how that would work. So these states do allow net listings under strict conditions, except for Florida. So the rationale is that informed, experienced sellers can negotiate such agreements without being misled by their agents who lie about the value of the property. But that's a big assumption to take on. Most people don't know how much their home is worth. They look at Zillow for their guidance, which is notoriously way off base in their valuations. So why are they controversial? Well, they're banned in 47 states and Washington, D.C. because they create a conflict of interest. Agents prioritize their own profit over the seller's best price. They risk undervaluing the property. Agents might persuade sellers to accept a lower net to maximize their own gain. And they violate fiduciary duties. Agents are legally bound to act in the seller's best interest, and net listings can possibly undermine that. So even in legal states, the National Association of Realtors forbids its members from using net listings or advertising them on the MLS, which limits their exposure and transparency. So if you're ever considering a net listing structure, advertising someone who is a net listing structure, or advising someone who is it's worth asking, that makes no sense. If the seller truly is informed or or if the agent is truly trusted, are you trusting them too much there? This is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, so that wording there kind of sucks. Doesn't make sense. Let me get in there and tap into that. If you're ever considering a net listing structure or advising someone who is, period, it's worth asking, is the seller truly informed or just trusting the agent too much? That's where the ethical rubber meets the road. Okay, that makes more sense when you got a period there. That's the only modification I made. Okay, so subagency. We hear about subagency all the time. What's a subagent? It's an agent of an agent. We're an agent of our broker, so we're subagents. But typically and historically, that's not the type of subagency they're talking about. Usually when two agents from different firms are representing the same client, that's subagency. One was hired directly by the owner of the property. The other one, just because they're not representing the seller, they still want to represent someone, so they represent they're not representing the buyer. They still want to represent someone, so they choose to advocate in the seller's best interest. But they weren't hired directly by them. So we don't have much control, neither does the homeowner, over how they're being represented, and it could open them up to liability. So most homeowners probably should not work with subagents. Now, subagency in real estate is one of those concepts that seems simple on the surface, but has layers of nuance, especially when it comes to loyalty and liability. So agent versus subagent, what's the difference? An agent's working for a broker is typically considered a salesperson or associate licensee. They represent the broker and they act in the broker's behalf in transactions. Their fiduciary duties flow through the broker to the client, the buyer or seller, and sometimes referred to as a subagent of their broker. You're an agent of an agent, you're a subagent. Now, a subagent, on the other hand, an agent does not represent the buyer, even though they may be working with them to buy the property. No buyer agency was established. Someone who's cooperating with a listing broker to help sell the property on behalf of the listing broker. They're legally bound to represent the seller's interest, owing them fiduciary duties, not the buyer, despite working with the buyer. Subagency occurs when real estate agent who's not the listing agent, and they're from another brokerage firm, helps sell the property on behalf of the listing broker, but still represents the seller, not the buyer, yet they're working with the buyer to buy a property. You can often see this when you have agents that are sitting in model homes for new construction. So how it works, let's say a buyer walks into an open house hosted by an agent who isn't the listing agent working for another agency, or that agent is cooperating with the listing broker and they become a subagent, or the buyer might assume that the agent's working for them, but legally the agent is working with the seller. This could lead to confusion and potential conflicts of interest. Probably also why we need to give the CIS form to everyone we intend to do business with. Now, why does it matter and why is it controversial? Well, subagency has fallen out of favor in many states as it creates legal and ethical risks due to the lack of buyer's representation. The buyer may unknowingly share confidential information with someone who's loyal to the seller. Legal liability happens if the subagent misrepresents something. The listing broker and seller can be held responsible. Conflicts of interest, it's hard to serve the seller while also interacting closely with a buyer. So the shift away from subagency has happened. Many states now restrict or eliminate subagency. New Jersey did not. In favor of buyer agency agreements. We do have buyer agency agreements, though, where agent represents the buyer directly. This shift clarifies who represents whom. It reduces legal risk and it protects the buyer from unintentional disclosure, which is why I don't understand why the state of New Jersey does not forbid subagency. Go figure. So, how are home values established? Well, this is the way that the appraiser sees the value of your home, and that's the only one that really matters anyway, because any potential buyer is going to need to get a loan, and most likely they're not buying all cash. They're going to need to get a loan, and the lender will only lend them money based on an appraiser's independent, unbiased estimate of value for that property. The lender is not going to lend you more money than the home is worth. They're not even going to lend you as much money as the home is worth. Most instances, they're not giving you 100% financing. The buyer has to put some of their own money down with a down payment. Okay, the real estate agent may look at your home like this. Okay, all right, maybe worth a little bit more, a little bit bigger there, right, than the appraiser. And when we get that listing, the seller often sees their home valued like this. Now, tax time, that's a different story. All of a sudden, they think of their house like this or below it, because they don't want to be taxed as high, and the taxes are based on the value of your property. They're ad valorem, right? But when it comes time to sell that house, all of a sudden the seller busts out their chest and pumps it up, and they're like, "My home is worth $1 gazillion," right? And now we need to talk them down to reality. A daunting task. That's going to be probably one of the hardest things for you to learn how to do. And even after you learn how to do it and you think you got it down pat, you're going to get some potential clients that you're going to want to it's like smacking your head against a brick wall. Goes in whatever you say goes in one ear, they agree with you totally, but then they're like, but I still want $1 gazillion for my own. And it's like talking to a wall, All right. We already went over this in an earlier chapter. You've seen this slide, right? That the MLS, you can only join an MLS if your broker is a member of that MLS. And you're a realtor in good standing, meaning you're a member of the Association of Realtors, you paid your realtor dues, and you completed your NAR Code of Ethics training class that's required every 3 years, but within 45 days of your joining. So each MLS has their own membership fees, and every MLS in New Jersey will have a listing of all 21 counties and all 564 municipalities in the state. So which MLS should you use? Look, here's 7 MLSs here. Which MLS should you use to put your listings in? Whichever one is primary to the area. Primary to the area means the one that the majority of the agents that work in that area, that's where they put the listings in. That'll be the one that you should use. So Garden State MLS covers Essex, Union, Somerset, Hunterdon, Morris, Warren, Sussex counties. Although, once again, you could put listings in Passaic and Bergen and all those other areas as well. But that's agents in those areas don't use that as their primary MLS. You get listings in Middlesex County too and put them in Garden State MLS. But most agents that work in Middlesex County are members of the Middlesex County MLS, which changed their name to Central Jersey MLS, which then realized, hey, we could get a wider market share. Let's just make it All Jersey MLS. So they changed their name now. It's now All Jersey MLS. They also have the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS. Used to be called MOMS because it was Monmouth Ocean MLS. Now it's Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS. now merged with the Southern Ocean MLS and Cape May County MLS. That's good because previously the Mom's MLS, you'd put your listing in Monmouth County or the northern part of Ocean. And then if it was in the southern part of Ocean, you'd have to put it in the Southern Ocean MLS and get membership in that too. Now you can just have membership in one Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS, and you could put the listings in all of Monmouth County, all of Ocean County, or Cape May County. The RMLS, that's the, I forget what that stands for, but it's the Hudson County MLS. They cover all of Hudson County except for the northernmost region, which is covered by NJMLS, as well as Bergen and Passaic counties. Now, Trend used to be an MLS here in New Jersey. They changed the name to Bright MLS. So Bright MLS, formerly Trend, they cover the southwestern part of the state. Everything from Mercer County straight down to Atlantic and make a left. Okay, so all of this open land, farmland, etc. Mercer County as well. Trenton, Princeton, those areas, they're under Bright MLS. Bright MLS also covers Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware. We could see listings there, but we can't enter them because we're not licensed in those states. Now, Cape May County MLS merged with the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS, but they still operate independently on their own as well. Some of these ones that merged don't operate independently anymore. But the Cape May County MLS does. You could just join the Cape May County MLS, or you could join the Monmouth Ocean Regional MLS, and you also get access to Cape May County MLS. Okay. Now you can put all kinds of listings in here. This is mostly residential MLSs, but you can put businesses for sale, commercial properties, etc. However, if you're serious about commercial properties and you really need the data to help commercial property buyers and such, well, then you're going to need to get membership in CoStar or LoopNet for that, because you're paying for information with those, whereas the primarily residential MLSs, you're paying for access. So no license is required to join any of these MLSs or sites. You just got to pay the dues. Commercial MLSs are pay for data information model, like I said, whereas the residential ones, you're paying for the access. And you got all kinds of data searches you could do. You could draw a picture on a map and search within that region, or you could have a circle within a 1 mile, 3 mile, 5 mile, half a mile range, whatever you want to do, and search for things that you would not be able to search for in those primarily residential MLSs, like based on people's demographic data, their income, their relationship status, the ethnicity, religion, whether they're owner occupants or not. You get traffic street counts, how many vehicles pass by this property every day. This data in the residential MLSs would probably be discriminatory, because there's no reason for you to search for residential properties using demographic data like this about who lives in the area. We're actually not supposed to look at that. All right, so how do we terminate listings? Well, the same way we terminate agency relationships, which we went over in Chapter 3. Right? Performance by the broker, expiration of the time period, the listing expired, so renew it. Abandonment by the broker, I don't know why you'd abandon your listings that you got. Revocation by the owner, however, they may still be required to pay us a commission if they sell that property before the listing expires, the original listing expires. Cancellation by the broker. Cancellation by mutual assent, or consent rather. Bankruptcy, death, mental disease, defect of either party. Somebody has Alzheimer's, they go insane, you have dementia. Can't be in a legally binding contract with somebody like that now, can you? Not of sound mind. Destruction or condemnation of the property, whether it's due to unsafe conditions or it's taken away. You got a notification from the owner that the property is going to be taken by eminent domain. Yeah, you can't really sell that property. Or a change in property use by outside forces, like zoning. The zoning laws have changed. So we just put a highlighted box around this on page 167 for different ways you could terminate a listing. Where'd everybody go? Everybody shut off their cameras here. What's going on? Y'all around here? Still tuned in? Coletta, it's just you and me. Oh no, we got a couple. Okay, Coletta, Anna, Sweta, Lashwana. Well, I don't know. She got her camera on. All right. There you go. I want to see your faces. All right. Remember chapter 3, we had this version. So this chapter, we got this, how to terminate a listing. And it's all basically the same stuff as we had in chapter 3 when we were talking about how to terminate agency relationships, with the additional notes I put in there about the owner may still be liable to us for a commission if they cancel the listing and then they still sell the property before our original agency agreement expired, our original listing agreement expires. And if they relist it with another company, well, they owe us the full commission as well as the other company. All right, how do we obtain listings? Well, all legal owners of the listing property, their spouses if required, or their authorized agents, as well as listing salespersons and brokers, should sign the listing agreement. The listing salesperson can sign the contract in the broker's name if the broker authorizes them. And most brokers do. Remember, check the IDs of all owners, buyers or renters before signing any contracts or disclosures. All listing agreements must be include a statement acknowledging receipts of the by the seller of the CIS that you've given it to them, because that's the first document you're supposed to give to anyone you intend to do business, right? It's a declaration of business relationships, shows you the different ways that we could work with people from the public. And you should have a brokerage service agreement that talks about the commission. Now, the seller must be given a copy of the Attorney General's memorandum on the New Jersey law against discrimination. When you guys have all of this highlights and these notes, let me know so that I could change the slide.
Got it.
Okay, well, that was quick. Everybody good? All right, I'll hold up. I'll wait. Just tell me. I can't see everybody's camera at the same time, too. I have to scroll through the different, all the people in the class. So make sure you guys tell me. Don't just put your thumbs up or fingers up because I may not notice it, okay?
I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else need more time or everybody good? Okay. So licensees are responsible for disclosure. We're required to investigate and disclose all material information about a property, like the true tax figure, and not any lesser amount that the owner may be paying because they're a senior or disabled or what have you, or a veteran. A statement of rents and expenses, lease terms, if it's a rental property, the lease terms, tenants, rent, and security deposits that are being held, where we have to collect that information and share it with those buyers. Any necessity for a certificate of occupancy or fire inspection, or disclosures for lead that may be required for the transfer of the ownership. If the property's in a flood area, we also need to make sure that we're using the new seller property condition disclosure report. It's a mandatory disclosure as of 2024 now, that includes in the seller property condition disclosure statement that says if the property's ever been flooded or if it's in a flood zone, et cetera, et cetera. And restrictive covenants. Deed restrictions and possible easements. We need to make potential buyers aware of them if there's any restrictions on how the property can be used. So, a real estate broker, as an agent of the seller, is responsible for the disclosure of any material information regarding the property, getting as much initial information from the seller as possible, even if asking penetrating and possibly embarrassing questions. Pays off in the long run by saving both the principal and the agent from potential legal difficulties. The agent should also assume that the responsibility of searching the public records for such pertinent information as the zoning, the lot size, and what the actual yearly taxes are, and not any discounted rate that the current owner may be paying. We have to advertise the true tax figure. So the true tax figure, disregarding any discounts that the owner may be getting because they're veteran or religious exemptions or what have you. Where do listings come from? Oh, let me hide that from you. I don't want to share that information with you, do I? Where are you going to get listings from? How about this? How about you share with me first, and then I'll share with you. Where are you going to get your listings from? Have you thought about it yet?
Referrals.
Referrals. From who?
It could be previous clients or
Okay, well, right now you're starting out. That's good once you get started and you got clients. But what if you got no clients? You're just starting right now, brand new agents, right? Where you gonna get
office time. Office time.
Oh, the floor time, office time, opportunity time, yeah. But yeah, you can get clients that way. Where else?
The brokerage firm you're going to be working with?
You're gonna starve if you're gonna rely on your brokerage to spoon feed you leads.
Not spoon feed, but like, just by being present and
Advertisements.
Well, you're talking about the opportunity time, where you're answering calls and acting as the unpaid secretary, and hopefully one of those calls will be a client. Where else? You said
Joining in the open house that you had mentioned.
Yeah, open houses.
social media.
That's to host an open house for other agents. Advertising on social media.
No social media, or are you agreeing to social media?
Oh, I'm just listening to you guys and taking it all in.
Just give us the answer.
Give me more ideas. Well, these are all answers. They're all answers. They're all ideas. You need to be creative.
Neighbors, family.
Okay, yeah. I mean, aren't you going to be pissed off if you find out that your relative just sold their house and they didn't use you, or they bought a house and they didn't use you? Don't be a secret agent. Let everybody you know you're in the business. What else?
Networking.
Networking. Okay, maybe how would you network?
Sometimes, like as women, when you go out, people say, "Oh, so what do you do?" I'm a licensed realtor, real estate agent. Hand a business card or a digital business card because they have that.
Okay, so just with acquaintances that you come across.
Yeah, or like
if you go to friends. What about all your friends? What about your coworkers where you're currently working or where you used to work? Maybe reaching out to them, right?
That's part of advertising, like putting yourself out there.
Well, no, advertising you pay for. This is networking, you said. Networking is reaching out to new people as well.
Right. And like we also, one of us also mentioned that like putting yourself out there, like social media, you don't have to pay for social media exposure.
Wow. It's against Facebook's terms of services for you to advertise on using your personal page.
What if you have a business page?
You got to create a business page and then advertise through there, and then you could share the links from that.
Right.
A good idea is for you to have your own real estate website with maybe a blog where you could post videos and articles about interesting stuff, and it's branded to you and your company, and then you take the link to that and you post it on your business page, and then you share that link to your personal page, then maybe even pay for advertising on social media sites like Facebook and other ones to get the word out there. If you have a lot of different social media that you're planning on using, isn't that like a full-time job on its own then, to post to all these different social media sites and then follow up and look for responses and then respond to them in a timely manner? You know, there's tools out there that will monitor all your social media websites. You can make a post one time. It'll post on all the social media websites for you. And anytime there's a response on any of those social media websites, you see it all in one interface and you can respond to it once and it gets responded everywhere. Do you know that? Of course, you got to pay for them. But I got a couple of tools I could share with you. Where
Yeah.
else? Where else are you going to get
Yes, share
listings
them.
from?
They're the tools.
Yeah, share them.
I will share them. What other place do you think would you use to get listings? Come on, come up with some more ideas. Be creative. Come on, salespeople.
I have a question. Let's
Yeah.
just say okay, we're not just talking about houses right now, are we? What are we talking about, apartments?
Well, listings, whether it's for rent, for sale.
Okay, so in regards to renting, I thought about presenting myself to a lot of these apartments, their leasing office, and saying, hey, I'm a licensed real estate agent.
Mhm.
Try to negotiate something down the line, like I'll be an independent contractor,
Well, you are an independent contractor.
but like not working with the apartment building
Yes.
directly, just working as an independent
Yeah,
contractor.
you're going to negotiate with them well, you don't need to get into all that with them. You want them to hire you, and if you get them a renter, that they'll pay you a rental commission or rental referral fee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some of the larger apartment complexes, they have their own rental offices. So with them, it would be usually a rental referral fee that would charge them. Now, most real estate agencies don't get involved in that with the apartment buildings and complexes because they got their own rental offices. However, it is a specialization that a couple of agencies do, like Best Rent NJ and a few other companies, that they do that. They specialize in just doing that. Okay.
Look for
So
builders.
with maybe smaller apartment complexes, maybe you can be the person there that you're not competing with the Best Rent NJ's big time money. You know, maybe you could compete with maybe you could get some um, listings from them to fill rentals. Yeah. Who else? Somebody was saying something else.
I look for builders.
Yeah, builders. I mean, I showed you a video for education at the end of chapter 3, I think it was, right? Uh, Teaching you about how to work with builders, and then investors who fix and flip the infill construction and other resources like that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Who else?
Just give us the answer.
I am. We are all giving each other answers here. We're sharing with each other. Yeah. Uh, I'm going to give you more resources. I'm going to give you more ideas. But right now, I'm just asking you guys for ideas. See where you're coming from. This is one thing that a lot of people don't even think of when they take this class. They just think their brokers are going to give them leads and they're going to run away with a lot of money.
Send seeds in the mail.
Putting seeds in the mail. There you go. Mailings. Mailings. It doesn't matter what you're mailing. Seeds in the mail glued to a postcard, or if it's just the postcard itself without the seeds, offering people a free CMA, comparative market analysis, right? You could advertise in the local rag papers or those coupon packs, right? Those value packs and those coupons that you get. You could pay for advertising in there or your local city's paper. It's cheap to advertise in those ones, right? You guys go to the gym at all? Anybody here go to a gym? Hang out at the barber shop or the beauty salon, or you have a book club, or are you involved in sports? You play pool, bowling,
Kids' schools.
basketball, anything, right?
kids'
Let
schools.
everybody know you're in the business, right? Hand out those business cards like they're chiclets.
I have a question on business cards
Yeah.
because now I see a lot of people are transitioning over to the digital cards. What's your take on that?
Okay. Yeah, but have business cards. You got to leave business cards with people too. Not everybody's going to be so tech savvy too. You got some old people, what are you going to do? Touch their phone with it and they're like, okay, well, how do I call you now? Now they got to remember your name and look it up through their hundreds of friends that they have on in their contact list.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Just
it's
ask-
good. It's good to add your information quick to people's things, but you should also have some printed cards that you give to them.
Okay.
Don't replace it totally. Okay. I don't think the digital one does replace it totally because then the person still needs to know what your name is so they can look you up in their phone. Otherwise, you're added in their contact list. They just don't know who the hell you are. Right? All right. Anybody else got any more ideas before I show you what I got? No. So here's some more resources for you. So some of these things we did talk about, like let everyone know you're in the business. Don't be a secret agent. The friends, family, coworkers, acquaintances. From you by prospecting and advertising and your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is first those people closest to you, your closest family, and your bestest of friends. And then you start working out in that circle, friends of friends, acquaintances, things of that nature. Social media, although obey the terms of service. Having your own real estate website to generate your own leads, it's a biggie. Blogging, answer questions on other real estate blogs like realtor.com or Zillow or Trulia or any of those, or citydata.com is a big one. Cold calling, although I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that. You got to also make sure you're not calling people on do not call list. Even though I know a lot of people that do cold calling, they could care less if you're on the do not call list. They're going to bother you at home anyway. But that also opens you up to being fined and having all kinds of other issues. Mailings. I like using postcards and letters and sending them out. You know why? It works. Real estate agents would not be sending you stuff by mail if it didn't work because it's expensive. Well, it can be. There's ways you could do it cheaper. I'll show you some resources where you could get stuff printed super cheap. Now, postage, ooh, that's another matter. Postage is expensive, right? I'm going to show you my top secret resource where you could get it cheaper. Now, according to when you send out mailings, you got to have a label there too. So what are you going to do? Now you got to print out labels and merge databases. Who are you going to mail it to? You're going to have addresses. You got to follow postal code regulations that state the person's name you're mailing it to or current resident in order to be compliant, right? But if you're just sending out general mailings in an area, I'm going to show you, you don't need to buy stickers for the mailing addresses or databases and then do mailing merges to print them out and any of that stuff, or the time and effort required to affix those labels in the right spots, which could be very laborious. So I'm going to show you a way that you could send out hundreds, even thousands of mailing pieces for a fairly cheap amount of money. And you can save yourself the time of buying databases and printing and having to waste ink on printing labels and then buying the labels and then the time to affix them. I'll show you a way of that, not on this slide, after we're done with this slide. A list pendants targeted list. Remember, I gave you guys some resources where you could get those list pendants information and you could mail to those people behind on your mortgage payments. We can help, right? Networking with lender asset managers who have already foreclosed on people. Those are REO properties. REO stands for real estate owned by banks. Okay, they're owned free and clear by banks. But you could also reach out to HUD, Fannie Mae, and IndyMac, and other lenders. You know, HUD pays up to 5% commission for buyer's agents if you bring a buyer in to buy one of their homes. Although in recent years, the HUD inventory has been down a lot because local governmental agencies and other groups that are facilitating the intake of the border crossers that we've been experiencing. They've been buying up the properties to have them serve as houses for them to live in. So normally on the HUD's website, you could find hundreds, if not thousands, of listings. Now you'd be lucky if you find a handful. But as an agent, you cannot be a listing agent for HUD or submit an offer for one of their HUD listed properties unless you're HUD approved. You need to have a ID number, and you need to be approved because there's certain ways that they accept their offers, the contracts. Needs to be in blue ink and not black ink or red ink or any other colored ink, you know. Needs to be the offer with the payment needs to be overnighted by FedEx to them. And then if the offer is accepted, you know, digitally, then you need to send all that stuff overnight to them. So you got to learn, you got to do a little learning there for that to get approved. But you can go to HUD's website or, HUD's website to find out how to get HUD approved, become a HUD approved agent. Billboards and those mini billboards, your business cards, bus stop benches and public garbage and recycle bin covers you see by bus stop benches or at the corners of lights in some areas. Those are actually pretty cheap to advertise on. How about networking? You said networking. You could also network on sites like joining groups on meetup.com. You know, there's all kinds of meetup groups. It's not all just dating stuff. Some of it is for business and other things as well. You meet up with other business owners and promote each other's businesses, you know, those business networking groups, town hall meetings where, you know, builders are going there to get their projects approved before they even break ground. Good opportunity for you to introduce yourself, shake hands, and give them a business card, right? Business networking groups, like I said. How about church? Your church groups or your church newspapers, right? Or flyers that they publish, right? Your church or religious groups or social groups that you're a member of, you know? They like to give business to other people that are members of their congregation. Hobbies, let your friends know. If you golf, play pool, go bowling, sports buddy. I need to learn how to golf. That's what I need to learn how to do. I bought a set of golf clubs years ago and I still have never gone. So I got to make an effort to go out and learn to get golf and start rubbing elbows with those people that got money, right? I play pool in a pool league. Everybody knows that, that I'm a real estate agent because I make sure they know. Bowling, sports buddies, book clubs, you hang out at the barber shop, any of these things. This is a good opportunity. Let everybody know you're in the biz. Don't let them forget it either. Diner placemat ads and back to school and book cover sponsorships, but they don't work well. You could do that if you want to get your face out there or just be charitable, but they don't work well. And those diner placemats, they're expensive. So I really don't suggest them. Promotional materials like magnetic business cards, calendars, desk calendars, those ones that you could wipe off with the ink that's erasable. People love putting them on their refrigerator and having their to-do list and stuff. And if you are, branded on there, that's even better. But those could cost a couple of dollars, so it's not like you're going to be handing them out in mass. But T-shirts, you can get them done cheap. Hats, pens, drink containers like koozies and drink containers, stress balls, things of that nature. Those things are cheap. You give them out at street fairs and things of that nature. Shopping carts, branded shopping bags and sports bags. My voice is giving out on me again, talking all day long. Guess they're getting tea, hot tea or something. Anyway, spray that lube in my throat there. Me. All right. Let's see. Media. The TV. Well, TV is expensive on the national TV. However, if you advertise with the local cable companies, or there's groups out there that do that for you, they negotiate plans now where you could even advertise on some of the apps like Tubi TV and Amazon TV and what have you. You could buy those commercial spaces and have it on those commercials. You could have your own commercials. It's probably more expensive just to get your filming done and edited right to have your commercials done. Radio, internet. Radio's expensive though. Internet's more affordable depending on how you're doing it. Real estate magazines and newspapers. Well, the real estate magazines that are monthly or the ones that are color and monthly, they're expensive. However, there are some 2-week magazines. They come out every 2 weeks in these real estate magazines. They're very affordable, especially if you commit to advertise on them for like next 6 months or several things. FISBOs, reaching out to for sale by owners, knocking on their door. Introduce yourself as a real estate agent. Say, I'm not here to try to get your listing right now. I will introduce myself and I'm open to taking your property as a listing, but I just want to see what you got going on over here because I work with buyers and see if any current buyers may be interested in it. So you walk around their house, let them give you a little guided tour, and then ask them for a property sheet and ask them, what's the price they're looking for on it and all that. Let them know if they're working within the realms of reality on their numbers. And also let them know that you're a real estate professional and you do this full time. This is your thing. That's your gig. And if you'd be honored if they'd give you the opportunity to try to market their home for sale if they see that the for sale by owner thing is not working too well, especially as an agent, knowing that the statistics that only about 10% of for sale by owners successfully are able to sell on their own. And I hope you do and save yourself that commission. But if you're unable to, or if it's too much of a hassle for you, then please do reach out to me. Here's my business cards. By the way, how are you currently making sure that buyers that you allow into your house are qualified for loans already, pre-qualified or pre-approved? And what if something goes missing from the house? And the safety, we do screening of people as well. So there's less odds of people stealing stuff from your house, and you're covered through our insurances and things of that nature. But that's if you hire us. Okay. So, but remember that anybody that calls up and wants to see your house, there's a security risk there too. Okay. What about expired listings? These people want to sell and their agent failed to sell it for whatever reason. Maybe it was overpriced. Maybe they had bad pictures. Maybe they didn't do any marketing or advertising. I don't know. It's usually because it wasn't priced right. You could usually sell any property, even the biggest piece of crap that's about to collapse and crumble to the ground. If it was priced right, you could sell it. All right. If it's priced right, you should get offers within the first 2 weeks. If it's not, then you need to make a price adjustment.
I was just going to say that because my neighbor put up their house for sale over the summer, which is surprising because I feel like you sell houses in the fall and the spring the most.
Yeah.
No offers on the house, and I think it was overpriced, but
that's probably it. It's usually it. The interesting thing is if you have your property out there and you have it listed for a month or two and you don't get any offers, you should reduce your asking price by 6 to 10%.
yeah, they did it. They kept the original, the agent did, I guess. And
And that's the problem. Their agent is having trouble talking to them. But even if that agent, let's just say that the agent is talking to them, but they're unable to convince these owners for whatever reason, you gotta talk to people just straight up with them. Say, listen. This is the suggested price range based on the CMA that I prepared for you, which is based on empirical evidence of homes similar to yours, similar in size, style, location, amenity, and condition that have recently sold. Your house should be selling within this price range too, and we could fine tune the price range by me doing some other additional calculations. But basically, this is the wider price range scope without me doing the fine tuning first, based on the comps that I've looked up on your home. But you're clearly over that. I don't see anything that justifies the asking price of your home here. Have you done any major improvements that make it better than these other properties? Because an appraiser is going to be the one that makes the decision. Any buyer that comes in, any offer that they make, let's say they go with let's say your house is overpriced and they make an offer, they agree to pay that full price offer. A bank's not going to lend them the money to buy that overpriced house because they're going to rely on an appraiser's valuation, which this is an individual, unbiased person that's using the same kind of information that I am. But usually appraisers, they do more of the fine tuning and it usually brings the value down even lower. So if you're already well above this, there's no way that buyers are going to be able to get the money to buy your home unless they're buying all cash and they're idiots. The reason why I say they're idiots is because who in their right mind would pay more for a house than an appraiser just told them that it's worth? And generally, people who have that much cash lying around to buy your house with cash and not get a loan, they usually got that kind of money because they don't make poor investments. They're going to want an appraisal still, and they're not going to want to pay more than the house is worth according to an appraiser. Because sometimes I've had homeowners that say you're not going to get a loan. Any potential buyer is not going to get a loan if an appraiser says it's not worth it. So those people are not going to be able to buy your home unless you're getting somebody who's got cash and they're willing to overpay for the house. And then they're like, well, we need to find that kind of buyer then. We need the right buyer. And then I'll say, well, would you agree with me that generally people who have that much money in cash laying around to buy your house all cash, would you agree with me that they're generally not stupid people who overpay for everything? So what makes you think that they're going to knowingly overpay tens of thousands of dollars more for your house than an appraiser says that it's worth? It's not going to happen. You may get rare circumstances where somebody comes in with cash and they're willing to pay a little bit more because your house is already set up the way that they want it and doesn't need any improvement or work done. But that's a rarity, And even after you have that conversation with them, they could be like, yep, agreeing with you 100%, bouncing their head up and down, nodding up and down, right? And they'll still be like, yeah, I just want to try it at the higher price for a little while. Okay, well then let's do that. Let's try it at your higher price for a little while. We'll take that listing, but I want to do this then. I want to set right now that if we don't get any written offers in 2 weeks, that we're automatically going to reduce the price on the house. So let's write that down. Let's fill out the form for a price reduction of your house, and let's predate it for that future date. So if your house is still on the market and there's no offers that have come in writing that were accepted, we're going to need to lower the price. So let's agree that the price will be this amount that we're going to lower it to by this date. And you sign here. Let's do that. So this way I don't got to come back to you, but I'll come back and I'll remind you, hey, as of today, price is coming down, still didn't get those offers. Okay. And then I'll make the adjustments in the MLS. Okay. That's another way you could go about doing it. Anyway, expired listings, open house buyers. Sometimes they have homes they need to sell first. So ask. And reach out to funeral parlor directors. Don't go looking in the obituaries, and that's just morbid. But you could put together a package with your business card and maybe a flyer targeted to people who have recently lost a loved one. Be sensitive to their situation, don't be a bottom feeder. And put together a flyer that's sensitive to people's situation, and then meet with a funeral parlor director and provide them this information and see if they could share it with their clients during their coaching sessions. Usually, they meet with the family members of the one who had their dearly departed, and they'll offer them different kinds of packages with different kinds of services, not just for the burial and the caskets, but also for other services that they may be in need of at that time. Like maybe their relative that passed has a house and that will need to be sold. You'll have the real estate agent. They'll have an attorney's information or an accountant's information, yada, 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 services that may be needed at the time. And it would be good if you put together something like that. I rarely see agents do it, but they should. People die all the time. Doesn't mean that they're going to sell the house, though. But there may be situations where a relative died and there was nobody living in there with them and nobody's moving into it, so they're going to need to sell it. So how about you get in touch with them? You'd be the first one to be introduced to them by an independent person, the funeral parlor director, right? And you could come up with many other ideas. This is just a starting list of ideas I'm throwing together. This is why I was asking you guys, what are your ideas? Maybe you come up with something new, something novel, Anyway. So here's some resources I'm sharing with you, advertising tools and software and such. Remember I told you get cheap postage with no mailing permits. You don't need to pay for any mailing permits or applications for them. You don't need to buy any lists or labels to put on your postage. If you use my top secret resource here, guys, just don't share it with nobody, okay? It's USPS.com/EDDM. That's the United States Postal Service. Okay, that's their website. However, they have a tool called Every Door Direct Mail to encourage advertisers to use their services and buy postage. So you could use their service and put a mailing piece in every mailbox along your mail carrier's route. And it's much cheaper than the price of a first-class postage stamp, which is how much right now? What's it going for? I ask this every class. I always forget. What's the price of a first-class postage stamp, guys? And I'm going to ask my co-pilot here. What is the price of a first-class postage stamp? As of October 2025, the first-class mail forever stamp is, 78 cents for a 1-ounce letter. Let's see, postcards. Okay, postcards are still cheaper at 61 cents. That's still a lot of money, right? 78 cents, even if it's 61 cents. That's a lot of money. How much is it going to cost then to send mailings out to 300 homes in the area? Let's take a look. 300 times 0.61. That's $183. Let's see if we could beat it. I'm going to click on this resource I'm sharing with you, their Every Door Direct Mail. I'm going to show you the commercial about this tool. But check it out. If you send it using the Every Door Direct Mail and send out one mail piece for every mailbox on the carrier route, your postage drops down to 24 cents. Little savings. So I could use the tool, but before I do, let me show you the commercial on how it works.
How do you get the word out to the people near your business who matter most? Do it with Everydoor Direct Mail. It features an online mapping tool for finding potential customers near your business. To use the mapping tool, enter a starting point. Then select nearby postal routes where you want your mail pieces delivered. You can see demographic.
Oh, sorry about that. So if you actually look at, let me back up just a little bit. So it's kind of like a Google map here, you know, where you hover over streets and then they get lit, they get highlighted. And if you click on it, it stays lit, stays highlighted. And then it'll show you up top here what carrier, the mail carrier route number is, how many residential mailboxes and how many business commercial mailboxes are along that route, and what the total is. You could adjust you could select the age range of the people you want to mail to, family sizes, the income, etc. So you could fine tune it a little bit. And I mean, look at this example here. They're showing you a mailing to 763 homes or mailboxes. Or actually over here, they have multiple carrier routes selected, so it's over 1,000 mailboxes for a cost of $213. Not bad. A lot cheaper. But you got to put money in, you get money out. With every mailing you send out of, let's say, 300, let's say you get a 1% response rate, that's 3 people. And one of them turns into a listing for you, paid for itself, and the next couple mailings as well. And all of your annual expenses for your E&O insurance, your MLS dues, your Realtor Association dues, your GE Security lockbox monthly fee, and then some. And that's if it's a cheap house. How much money you would earn on the commissions, right? Let's just take a look. How much money could you earn on your commissions there? Well, let's just say we have a $300,000 house, right? Times it by, let's just say you're not going to getting 6% commission. Let's just say you get a 4% commission. Let's make it really low, 4%. So that's for both sides of the transaction. So let's just keep it with half. Say we don't get the other side. We only get the listing side. So times 2%, that's $6,000 right there. But you need to split that with your broker. And let's be conservative. Let's just say that you're only on a 50-50 split with your broker. So you divide that by 2. That's $3,000 right there. $3,000, that covers your total year's expenses and this advertising and your next couple advertising for $3,000, one transaction. Okay, it's worth it, right? With only a 1% response.
You can see demographic data based on census reports, like age range and average household size and income, and choose among available routes. When you're finished planning your mailing, you can schedule it for delivery. Each mail piece costs less than the price of a stamp to send. Creating your mailing is easy too. You can do it yourself or find a list of printers or mail service providers on USPS.com. When your mail pieces are ready, bring them to the post office and we'll deliver to every address along the routes you selected. Reach potential customers simply and cost-effectively. Everydoor Direct Mail from the U.S. Postal Service. Your post office anywhere.
You're welcome for that. Money saving, advertising, get the word out pretty fairly cheap. Now you still need to print out your advertising pieces. Like they said, they have advertisers, they have print shops advertised somewhere on their website. I don't know, where you could order things that are printed out for you and then automatically sent to the post office. Or you could use your own printers. I'll show you a couple places where you get printing done fairly cheaply. Okay, but if you look at this Everydoor Direct online tool, let's just say, let me just put in a zip code in Linden, 07036. And I want to mail. Okay, so it has lit up my zip code 07036. Some towns have more than one zip code, okay? Mine only has one. But as you can see, as I'm moving the mouse around, areas are getting lit up, right? So let's zoom in on it. Let's just say that I want to send mailings, let's see, to the section of town that I live in. So you guys see how it's highlighted from light purple to dark purple as I'm hovering over the areas? Let's just say I select this route. I could just hover over the route and it's showing me there's 385 total mailboxes on this route. It'll cost me $95 to mail to 300. That's the postage for 385 mailboxes. So I'm going to click there. And then I'm going to select this route too, right next to it. I'm going to click that one. And you see how they're now highlighted in blue? So that's a total of 700. Oh, it's more than that. Oh yeah, that's a total of 751 mail pieces for $185. Let's also send a mailing over here to this area, that whole section of town maybe. That's 1,123 houses. I'm going to put, that's $277 still in postage to mail to 1,123 properties. Be good if I get a couple listings out of that. Ooh. But you don't need to go that big. You could just select smaller areas, you know. Let's clear the routes. But that's how it works. This tool is pretty neat tool. You know, you could select the areas of town and you could select even the postal carrier routes that you want to use. You cannot send to part of a postal carrier route. You have to send to a whole entire route. So basically your mailman will get enough mailing pieces from you to put one in every mailbox along the route. So they're walking the route anyway. You don't need to put postage on it. You don't need to put a label on it. You don't need to address it to anybody. You just supply the post office. So basically, you select it here, then you go to checkout, you pay for it online, you print the receipt out, which also shows the carrier routes and the date you want it sent out, and then you bring enough mailing pieces and some extras just in case to bring it to your local post office, your main post office, and you drop off the mailing pieces and your receipt to them, and they'll send the mail out. That's it. Makes it life a lot easier too.
Do you send it to your PO box, like the local PO box to your area, or the town where you want to send it to?
No, the town that you're sending it to, you got to send it out to that main post office in that area. Okay, because they're going to be distributing it. Otherwise, now it needs to go from your town to their town, and yeah, you drop it off there. You could go to your post office and ask for a couple of those carrier boxes for letters, and they'll give you a couple of them. Those plastic ones for carrying the mail and packages. Just go there to your post office and ask them for a couple. You're going to be sending out some mailings, and they'll give them to you. Okay, so neat little resource I gave you there for advertising. Now, if you want to get stuff printed cheap, well, I got a couple of resources here. Gotprint.com, Vistaprint, and well, Staples not necessarily cheap, but if you need something printed in a hurry. But you got Gotprint.com and Vistaprint. Vistaprint, if you sign up for their professional account, you could get even bigger discounts on printing, and they allow you to keep like you could do designs and have access to their templates. They're nicer templates if you sign up with them. Gotprint.com, they give you access to all kinds of templates and stuff, but you really need to do they even have a design tool online, but it ain't that great. You're better off using your own software to do the designing and then send it off to them, and you get printing done pretty darn cheap through them. Like, I'm talking cheap. If you go to your local print shop and you want to get 5,000 postcards made up, right? How much is that gonna, how the hell do you get this off my screen? You want to get 5,000 postcards made up? Let's see, business cards. Okay, you get business cards also made up cheap. Probably cost more, just as much for them to ship it to you because of the weight of it. But let's see, marketing materials. Let's say postcards. And Every Door Direct, by the way, you could send large postcards too. So let's just send a little bit larger than average. I think 4x6 is the average. 5x7 is a little bit oversized, but then you get all the way up to here. So, let's go with a 5x7 postcard.
We can't see it.
Oops, sorry. So I selected the 5x7 postcard. I basically went through their website. I went to the marketing materials, went down to postcards, and you got the different sizes. I went with a little bit oversized, a 5x7. And let's say you want to do printing on both sides even. Okay, you do the layout. 14 point, that's a nice thick, you can make it glossy or uncoated, it doesn't matter. Or matte. Or you could have some of their premium finishes and ultra thick, but you don't need all that. 14 point is fine. Uncoated versus gloss, does that make a difference in the price? No. So we're going to send it glossy. Let's make full color in the front, and let's say grayscale in the back. Rounded corners, that's them cutting it. That's unnecessary expense. Let's just say we're going to get 5,000 of these postcards. We don't need to send them all at once now. They're just a general advertisement that we're going to do in different areas. So we're going to make the same kind of postcard that's more generic here. So we're going to have 5,000 of them made up with that UV coating on it. $258 for 5,000 postcards. That's going to be quite a few mailings for you. You don't got to send them all out in one mailing, right? But that's very affordable. You go to your local print shop and try to get that made up. It may cost you around $1,000 to get it that many printed. Now, let's take a look at the business cards too. They could have all kinds of fancy papers and such too. They got these linen papers are nice, but they could have those ones that feel like the ink that's printed on it, it actually feels like velvet. That's pretty interesting one. You could have ones with raised foil prints or UV prints on them. Let's not go crazy. Let's just say get ourselves a nice smooth white linen craft mat. I'm not sure. I've had linen business cards before. They could be really nice, especially when you combine them with gold foiling and such. But this is for business cards. So I just go with a glossy matte finish, a glossy finish on our business cards. And 14 point, that's pretty thick business card, but you could get even thicker. Let's just, you can go with premium ones, more premium, but let's go with some standard business cards. Got to make some money first. Let's get 5,000 of those made up so we give them out like they're running out of style, right? And let's put some printing on the back. Well, you could put printing on the back, or you could just, that just asks for referrals, or you put no printing on the back. I would say put some grayscale printing on the back, and then just on the bottom maybe, or on the top, ask for, we love referrals and something like that, and then leave a bunch of empty writing space. So on those, though, you should not have any UV coating on the back. Otherwise, you can't really write on it. So this one has high gloss UV coating on the front only. $125 for 5,000 business cards. I defy you to get it cheaper elsewhere. So just giving you guys resources.
Can I see your business card out of curiosity, what it looks like?
I do not have one in front of me here.
Uh-oh.
I got a bunch of other crap on my desk, but I don't have my business card.
You have to be prepared.
That's right.
I don't sell to my class. But you're right. I do need to get some new business cards anyway, but I'm in need of reordering because I'm moving. once I move, I'm going to order some new ones. But let's see, we got the register yourself a domain name or two for your websites and maybe for your profile pages on your social media. You could just say, go to this website. This will take you directly to my social media website, my whichever social media app or site it is. GoDaddy.com, you could register them, and they do a pretty good job, and they're fairly cheap and affordable. You got to pay for each year that they're going to be registered. You got to renew that every year. I've been dealing in domain names for so many years as an investment, even since I was a kid, that I've got hundreds, if not over 1,000 domain names that I own. And yeah, I spent a decent buck on it because I own so many of them, they only charge me like $8 or $9 per domain name per year. So real estate custom websites with IDX feeds. I used to have a resource here for you. Now you got to do a little research on your own, because one of the major companies that builds websites bought them out and shut them down. Real estate, let me see. So you also have some other tools here. They're like contact managers, but they also do drip mailing campaigns and create managing your finances or keeping track of your finances, creating designs for mailings for you. Realty Juggler or Top Producer. Top Producer's more expensive. I would not suggest that right off the bat for you guys. But Realty Juggler, yeah, maybe you could even try it out free for 90 days. Okay. So what exactly is it? Well, let's take a look. So Realty Juggler contact relational management software. You get a 30-day free trial with that. You know, you could import all your contacts. You could track prospects, follow up automatically. You could set up feeds from any website, even IDX portals, which is feeds from your real estate listings feeds. Let's see. You can share your information. You could send time release drip campaigns in advance. You can create your own activity plans for dealing with buyers or renters or landlords or, sellers, track your finances, your commissions, your contacts. You could send emails and text messages through here. You could integrate it with your voice dialers, of course. Keep track of all your contacts with your clients. Import contacts from these sources, import leads from the MLS and other places, upload scanned information into this comprehensive letter and e-card library suitable for bulk mail or embedding videos in your emails. Let's see, automatic reminders of people's birthdays and closing dates, anniversaries. It's different than your regular like Google Contact Manager, or whichever one you're using in your cell phone. This one is more targeted for business people, your business prospects. Okay. So keep track of your lead generation. It's not a bad idea that when somebody contacts you, you have in all your ads, whether it's a printed, this is a tip I'm giving you here, whether it's a printed piece that you mailed or emailed or an advertisement in a magazine, or even if it's an ad on a radio, you tell people to mention code number, whatever, when calling. And then this way you could put that code number in your database and you know which one of your marketing and advertising is generating the most leads for you and paying back. Okay. It's a good, smart way of tracking what you're spending on advertising and what works and what doesn't. Okay. So look, actually you could even integrate it into your Google. All right. So anyway, that's Realty Juggler. Top Producer probably got a lot more tools even than that, but it's very expensive. Okay, Prospects Plus, Lens Design. These are all kinds of automatic designs that are created for you for different times of the seasons and holidays and greetings, and for reaching out to for sale by owners or expired listings or what have you. They've got all kinds of brochures and, this used to be Prospects Plus is great. They got thousands of designs, Lens Design, they make custom ones, and they're pretty good with some of the existing ones they have. And they could also print them out and send them out for you too. The Red X, highly recommend this tool. If your brokers don't have it, well, even if your brokers have it, you should probably get it on your own. Use this for you integrate your MLS logins to it. And then this tool can search through your MLSs to give you in the morning automatic. It did the search for you. It's ready in the morning where you could see what today's expired listings are and call them first thing in the morning, get to them before any other agent does. Expired listings, they've got tools that scan for sale by owner websites and all kinds of other resources as well. Let's see. So it's called the Red X, or now it's just Red X. No more the Red X, I guess. Okay, no, I'll just wing it right now. Thank you. So let's see what they have. It looks like they have videos on it now too. Turn Red X leads into listings. Okay, expireds, for sale by owners, for rent by owner, geo leads, circle prospecting in your neighborhoods, and pre-foreclosure leads. I guess that's like the list pendants lists as well. So I guess they got people telling you how it works for them. Smarter way to connect. It'll automatically scrub them against do not call lists if you want, if you choose. It's actually a pretty good tool. I don't know how they updated it. I actually haven't used it in a while. But I remember this is an excellent tool.
More listings, better leads, smarter prospecting. That's RedX. We help real estate agents and teams get more listings by providing them with high-quality lead data and the tools they need to win. If you're an agent or team leader looking to grow your business, you know that waiting for referrals just isn't enough. That's where we come in. RedX provides a steady stream of opportunities like expireds, FSBOs, pre-foreclosures, and geo leads. So you never get stuck wondering, where's my next listing going to come from? And it's not just about getting leads. RedX also gives you the tools to connect with your contacts. Whether it's making calls, sending mail, or running digital ads, you'll find everything you need to reach homeowners in a way that fits your prospecting style. With RedX, you always have a game plan to grow your business. When you have the right leads and the right tools, prospecting becomes easier, more efficient, and more rewarding. Watch our demo to learn more about how this works.
Just another tool for you, but if nobody tells you about these tools, so I'm here. I want you guys to be successful. So I'm sharing with you some tools that I've used and that I know are good. Homes.com, great place to advertise. People search for homes. They do a Google search, right? They'll say homes for sale in whatever town, right? So this is always going to be like one of the first page top ranking ones because it used the word homes in it. Homes.com, you could have and show people when you go in for your listing presentations how I could advertise you and put you at the top ranking in Google, your home. So if people search for homes in Edison, it'll come up. If I put that listing in there, then all of a sudden it's going to be ranked in Edison, and then there will be a link there. They click on it, and it's automatically going to take them to Homes in Edison, and I'm going to feature your listing, so it'll be right there at the top. One click, people get to see your home for sale in Edison. That's a great tool, and it is. It's not expensive. A lot of these advertising places can be very expensive, like Zillow. They're ridiculous. Now, Realtor.com, Realtor.org. You could go to there and fill out your profile on Realtor.com and start setting it up there. You get tools like NAR RPR for free with your Realtor membership, and with New Jersey Realtor membership. And that's a tool you can put on your cell phone, which is great to have on your cell phone. You could get that resource, but also you go to their website and you could prepare CMAs and do all kinds of research for area. They've got a blog there that teaches you all about it. I think I've already shown you this tool and their resource there from in chapter 3, at the end of chapter 3. You got some other graphic tool and page layouts, Dotprint and Vistaprint. They have some templates that you could use, but if you have a little bit of graphic design ability in you, some great tools without spending the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year on the Adobe products, you can get very comparable, powerful software from a company called Serif. Okay. They rebranded their line to be named Affinity, but basically they have a image editing software, page layout software for laying out templates for flyers or business cards, etc. Canva does as well. You could pay for their advanced but with them you better pay for their pro version. Otherwise, their free tools are kind of crappy. Vistaprint, etc. But with subscriptions and advanced subscriptions, you get access to better stuff there. But Affinity tool is awesome. If you guys are ever used like Photoshop or the page layout, page designers and stuff, with Affinity, it's great. QR code generators. Well, this one you could get for free for so much time, but then if you want to keep that QR code that you created active, you're going to have to pay for it. Then it does not make sense. Actually, Affinity has integrated a tool in it now that you could generate your own QR codes that will point in your advertisements to your own websites. So you could have a QR code on the back of your business card. Somebody scans it with their they scan it with their cell phone. Boom! It adds all your contact information to their cell phone. Doesn't need to be those electronic ones, right? They could just scan a QR code and get the same result. You should really subscribe to one of these, either QuickBooks Self-Employed or FreshBooks, to track your expenses, keep tabs on your expenses, to prepare for your taxes, your income, your expenses, etc. Your mileage, if you want to get those deductions on your vehicle. Now, tools like Hootsuite or a cheaper alternative, Patty Post, will allow you to manage all of your social media in one interface. Remember I was telling you about? If you're not good at graphic design or video editing or any of that, well, there's a website called Fiverr where you could get professionals that do this stuff all the time. You could get things made up for as little as $5. Whether it's creating a logo, a business card, a flyer layout for you, or a commercial. As little as $5, they could do some editing for you. It's a website called Fiverr. Remine is a tool you get for free with the Garden State MLS. I think you also get it for free, but the basic version with the All Jersey MLS. But you get the professional version, I think, with Garden State, Remine Pro. That's a mining tool, a reverse mining tool to try to get leads. That's another thing. This one's hard to explain. You're better off just going and searching online how to use Remine Pro or Remine.com to generate real estate leads. Just do a search with your AI or Google searches there. Don't ignore your real estate agent profile on Realtor.com. Here's a video that shows you how to set it up, and here's the direct link to your profile on how to set it up there. Okay. Now, Realtor.org got all kinds of tools available for us too, and layouts and templates, loads of information on that website. Realtor.org or nar.realtor. Realtor.com is the public's website. All right, so those are a bunch of additional tools and resources that I shared with you. Now, let's get back to the lesson, because we got to get our license first before we can start using these tools, right, and making our money. So now that we got you a little hyped up and you know where you're going to start, you got some ideas of how you're going to do marketing and advertising to get these leads. Let's get into the listings. When you get a listing, how do you write down and remember everything? Well, you can either go walking around with a tablet and start inputting the information directly as you walk around the house about the house to input the listing in the MLS. Or you could print out these listing input sheets like the Garden State MLS has to collect all this information. Then when you get back to your office, you could do all the inputting later. Where you're going to need a lot of different information you need to collect about a property. And like room sizes and square footage. Well, square footage, I will not post unless I have a blueprint from the architect. But there's a lot of other information, material information we're required to gather and collect and disclose to potential buyers, right? So I clicked on that link to go to the Garden State MLS, and here's their listing input sheets. All the other MLSs, they don't have it available publicly. So this one does. So as you could click on it, you could see they got them for single families, multifamilies, vacant land, business and industrial, investment and office space, businesses, rentals, coming soon listings, property change forms for listing extensions or price changes, temporarily taking properties off the market, an actual listing agreement. If it's housing for older persons in a 55+ community, that form is there. Withdrawal change forms, assignment requests. Good luck with that. Seller's property condition disclosure statement, the newest one right here. You could get that. The CIS form with real estate relationships. Let's see if they customize theirs at all. This is the same one I used to show you. It looks nice. Okay, so here's that example of listing input sheets and the information you would need to collect. So here, I'll share that with you guys right there. Well, let's take a look at one of them. I'll open it up for a single family house, right? And let me zoom in on this a bit so you can see it better. See it better? All good now? So this one's for a single family or a condo or co-op. The fields in red, you must fill out. So you need to gather that information. The list price, the listing date, the expiration date, the date of possession. When is the property going to be available? You can put there at closing or some other time. The county, the municipal name, the street number, the street address, the zip code, all this other information you put. Type of ownership, condo, cooperative, fee simple, or ground lease. Information about the property, number of total rooms, bedrooms, full baths, half baths, the approximate lot size. You could get that stuff maybe from the tax records. Construction date and year of build. You could possibly get that from tax records, or the owners. When you go to get a listing, you ask the property owners if they could prepare for you a copy of their, or just show you their deed from when they bought the property, as well as their survey or any title information. And you would get that from them. And you could use an app on your cell phone to snap a picture of it and scan it to a PDF document, which then you could print out later, and it's scalable. If you just snap a picture of something with your regular camera, it's not good. There's an app you should all get. It's free, unless you want their advanced features, but there's no reason for it. Their simple features are good enough for this purpose. It's like walking around with a scanner on you. You get an app called Adobe Scan. It's available for Apple and Android phones and devices. It's called Adobe Scan. I highly suggest that you get it. So you're going to have the owner then, you fill out all this information about the property. You have the owner's initial, the bottoms of every page. But there's a lot of information. It shows you what to gather. Everything from the floor type. You know, is it hardwood floors? Is it laminate? Is it tile? What kind of tile? You know, what kind of roof? Does it have an attic or not? Does it have a garage? Is it attached? Is it detached? Well, how many spaces? Are there parking spaces? Is there a driveway? See, there's a lot of information to gather on these properties, right? So you don't just go there, walk around, and then go back to your office and try to remember everything and fill it out later. Because I bet you by the time you get back to the house, you're going to be like, shoot, what color was the house? Something so blazingly obvious, right? And then you're going to be like, oh man, I got to pull it up on Google Maps. I hope it's updated. um, all right, so there's a lot of information you could fill out. The bedrooms, what floor are they on? What are the room sizes? All kinds of stuff that we need to gather. I just sent you the link that shows you this. These are those property information forms, these information sheets. I don't know what Zoom level I'm at right now, so I'll just close it anyway. But either way, these are the information sheets to figure out what information we need to gather to put the listing in the MLS. All right. Additional things like the current tax amounts. We need to ask them if there's any outstanding special assessment taxes that they have not yet fully paid. We need to know what if it's a condominium or a co-op, we need to know what those maintenance fees are monthly, those HOA charges. The amount of any existing, and the contact information for the property management we'll need to get. The amount of any existing financing left over so that we could maybe fill out a sheet for the owner to see how much they'll net after the sale, approximately. If the property's distressed or not, that's a question you should ask homeowners. Are you in danger of a short sale? Do we need to do a short sale on your property? That means, do you currently owe more on the house than it's worth? We can still sell it. We just need to take a different approach. Or is your house currently in foreclosure? Are you currently going through a divorce? Or did you file for bankruptcy? We need to know that in advance. If they file for bankruptcy, don't even bother with the listing. Okay, you're not going to be able to sell it. Utility companies, it's good to find those out, who they are. But some MLSs have all that information already in them now, I'm finding. Like Garden State MLS, they're really good with that. They have the name of you can pull up the public records, but they also pull up information like the utility companies. But if the MLS you're using does not, well, you're going to have to ask from the homeowner, who's your water company and everything else, Do they have a septic system, cesspool, or tight tank, or are they on city services for their sewer and water? Any appliances or chattel that's going to be included or excluded from the sale, we need to learn about, and the date of occupancy that the property is going to be available for the buyer to take possession. Is there a possibility of any seller financing or concessions that they could offer to potential buyers? Like offering to help pay their closing costs? What's the zoning classification of the property? Is it just strictly residential, or is it mixed use? I would advertise that if I knew that it was. Is it in a flood zone or not? Okay, well, you can find that out from the FEMA's website, the NAR app website, Remind Pro, or from the flood map certifications. You could actually buy for like $15, I think it is, a flood certification statement determination. You could have somebody that on a map, it looks like they're right near a river. But if you look in 3 dimensions, the house is actually elevated pretty high. So if that's the case, they're not in danger of flooding. So you get this elevation study, and then you could avoid requiring flood insurance. Okay, detailed list of what exactly is included or excluded from the sale. I told you that Adobe Scan thing is pretty good. And even though you're being invited to their homes, check their IDs. You want to make sure they're the actual owners that you're getting the listing from, right? Right. We want to get that listing from the owners and not anybody else. Like the girlfriend who's posing to be the wife. Yeah, that situation sucked. Okay, so Adobe Scan, here's I could show you that. And let's take a look and see how it works. You just hold the camera over, it'll automatically detect the edges of a document. Just hold it steady and level. It'll automatically detect the edges of the document. And even if it's off, you could put your finger on it and then adjust it.
And it's just an app?
It's just an app. Yep, and it's free. You could, of course, they'll try to get you to pay for advanced features and stuff, but you don't need to. You could just use the free app. And you could scan it into an Adobe Acrobat format, into a PDF. You can password protect them. You can also export them as images. You could even make adjustments to them. You can copy information directly to your contact or financial software. You can do a lot of stuff with it. Okay, but for the basic scanning functions, which we usually need it for, you can name the document, you could rename it, you can merge documents, you could snap photos of them, turns it automatically into a PDF document, which is small in size and it's shareable. You could share it directly from this app, so you could share it, and then you could share it by email or however else. So this is the link from the Google Play Store if you have an Android. If you have a Apple, we'll go to whatever store it is that you need to get it, but it's called Adobe Scan. Well, looks like they adjusted the name. It's now Adobe Scan AI PDF Scanner OCR, because you can also read the text. Okay. As far as these go, I can share these links with you now, or you guys can get them once again from our class links Word documents about flood certification. But here, if I just go to the FEMA website, did I show this to you guys before? I'm not sure if I did. You go to the FEMA website. You could plug in an address and see if you're in a flood zone.
You should plug in mine. Mine's terrible flood zone.
Okay, give me your neighbor's address or somebody in the area so I don't, because I'm recording this and this is going on.
Oh, okay. 712 Tompkins.
What?
Tompkins, Tompkins.
Okay.
South Plainfield.
Is it street, road, or
Ave.
Tompkins Ave? South Plainfield, New Jersey. Okay. So now we could do a search. Now there's a legend down here that tells you what all the different colors and stuff are. And you could turn some features on or off. Let's zoom in a bit to that property. Okay. So it looks like this property is just creeping on the edge. I don't know if this is actually on the property or not, but it's just creeping around it, the flood zone. Let's zoom out just a little bit. Properties across the street and behind it, though, they're in the flood zones. Let's see what these wavy lines and angled lines mean. You come down here. What are the wavy lines? Whoop. What do the wavy lines mean? I don't know. It's not even showing them. Well, that's weird. It doesn't matter. But we can see that the blue, that's in a flood zone. That's a flood area. And these areas, the blue with the red, that's an extreme flood area. It's a regulated floodway even. So that's a hazard area. Then you've got this flooding, and then this as a lower risk. Well, this could be 1% to 2% chance of flooding, or 0.2 to 1%. So this is a 100-year flood zone. This is a 500-year flood zone. 500-year flood zones, you typically don't need flood insurance. 100-year flood zones, you do. Now, there's also revisions. Let me see. There's no revisions, but there is an amendment to this map. So you should read the documents in the amendment as well. You know the best way to find out if somebody's in a flood zone? Are they required to carry flood insurance? You buy their lender. You ask their lender. The lender will let you know. So this is the way you look it up. This is the FEMA's website link for that.
Quick question.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of Blue Acres?
No, what is that?
Just recently, we were looking into, it's a part of the EPA, and they now have a program called Blue Acres, where if your property is that bad of a risk,
They'll buy it.
that they buy it and make it green space, basically.
Yeah. I don't think they're using the Green Space Expansion Program money for that, but there's that. Yeah, that's a different program. I think it comes from federal money. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's state money or federal, but I think it's federal. That they use that. Yeah, I got a friend that actually did that. He lived in Woodbridge in back behind over there where there was a lot of marshland. And there was like 2 streets that were entirely bought up by the government. There's some people. There's still a couple of holdouts that still have their houses there, but the condition for them to have insurance for their home is they have to raise the house like 10 feet. So you had some
Oh,
people,
yeah.
they had their
Like the
houses.
shore houses, right?
Yeah, like the shore houses. So I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. Me personally, I don't like climbing stairs. All I think about is the groceries. How many times I'm running back and forth to my vehicle to get the groceries, and then climbing up and down stairs. I'm like, no. That's not for me. So let me take a look here. And there, so I'll share these links with you for flood determination zones. Yeah. Okay, so what did this agent do here? Paula Leiden, 2021. She failed to confirm that her client, when getting a listing, that her client was the legal owner of the property prior to marketing said property and entering the contract of sale for the property with buyers. Oh no, that's a nightmare. I'm guessing that they were not the legal owner. That's the only reason why she's getting in trouble here.
We can't see it.
Check their IDs. You got invited into an owner's house. Check their IDs. Make sure they say they are who they say they are, and then run it against the tax records to see if they are listed as the actual owners. If they are not, you cannot sign those listing agreements with them, and then get into even worse, under contract, having them now signing contracts, and they're not even the legal owner of the property. I think I told you guys a story about a situation I had where I met with the husband and the wife was not the wife. She was the girlfriend posing as the wife. But I had that nagging little voice in the back of my head that was saying, check their IDs, check their IDs. And so I checked their IDs, and that's when I found out. And thank goodness I did ask that question. So you guys should always check ID. So what happened to her? What did she do?
Vic, you're still on the FEMA website.
Oh, I'm still on the FEMA website. Thank you very much. Here we go. So this was in Essex County. She failed to confirm that the client was the legal owner of the property. She marketed said property, entering into a contract to sale for the property, and agreed to pay in full the outstanding balance of the fine assessed against her in conjunction with previous consent order within 90 days of issuance of this order. Had to pay a fine in the amount of $4,000, also within 90 days of issuance of the order. And failure to pay within the set time frame is grounds for immediate suspension of your license until the obligations are paid in full. And then agreed to a 30-day license suspension either way, with any license issued following the suspension to be held on probation for a period of 1 year. Wow, they really want to watch after. Apparently, this was not a pretty situation here. And she had to complete 3 hours of CE in the areas of disclosure. Okay, check IDs. How many times have I told you that? Check their IDs. It makes you more professional, too. I'm a professional. I check IDs. Professional. What? I have no idea, but I'm a professional and I check IDs. All right. So those MLS listing input sheets I already went over with you. However, on the next slide, there's some information we got to ask, like the cooling. Is there any cooling in the house? Do they have air conditioning? Do they have ceiling fans or a whole house fan? Central air conditioning units, window units, or through the wall? Anybody know what a whole house fan is? This is a whole house fan. You can see them in older colonial style houses, but it looks like this house was retrofitted with one. Person didn't know what they were doing that put up this flap because it looks ugly. That flap should have been installed from the other side. But okay, whatever. She gives a nice little explanation here, gives a demonstration about a whole house fan. Basically, this is a hallway. Hallways are typically what? At least 4 feet wide. So these fans are about 4 to 6 feet in diameter in the attic. They're huge fans. A little tip, if you ever get a listing that has a whole house fan like this in the attic, go up in the attic and make sure that it has the fan blade guards installed over it. If it does not, tell the homeowner they need to get it installed. There's no way that the city's going to pass them for the inspection without it, because that's a danger.
Okay, this is a video for people who are wondering what a whole house fan is. This is what the grate looks like in the ceiling. We just moved into this house and we weren't sure what this was. Some people, I think, call it an attic fan, but it's really good for cooling down your whole house. So it is a whole house fan. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn it on. I turn it on, oh, just trying to focus here. What's going on? There we go. All right, here we go, turning it on. That's high. You can see the fan blade is huge. That's on high, and it creates an amazing breeze throughout the whole house. You have to have all your windows open so it doesn't create weird negative pressure. I'll turn it down to low. There it is on low. It's still creating an amazing breeze throughout the whole house. It works extremely well. So if you're looking for an alternative to air conditioning in a hot area, this thing works great. It's been about 85 to 90 degrees outside. This cools the inside of our house at least 10 to 12 degrees, so we have not needed to run the air conditioning. Plus, there's just constantly air moving through the windows, up through the fan, up through the attic, and I'm sure there's a port up there where it all goes out. But anyways, that's what it looks like. And here I will turn it off. And then the flaps close, and that's it.
The flaps are,
so that's what it looks like.
Those flaps are just controlled by the airflow, the amount of airflow that it's sucking through. So those things are actually great. They should be standard features in every house. It's definitely an energy saving cooling system for sure.
Okay.
All right, so we have a responsibility to investigate and disclose all material information about a property that could be discovered, or about the buyer, like that they have the ability to get the financing to close on that house, right? So New Jersey Real Estate License Act further requires a fully executed signed copy of any sole exclusive sale or rental listing be provided to the owner at the time of execution of that listing agreement. And the listing has to contain a definite date of termination. We've heard these things several times already. Think it's going to be on exam. Hint, hint. And I put a little note here. Don't forget, check IDs of the owners and buyers before having anybody sign any contract. Always check their IDs. You'll be a better agent for it. Just got a notification from my Old Riders Club. Got a comedy night coming up in Metuchen. If anybody wants, at the American Legion in Metuchen on October 25th. When is that? Is that this weekend? No, it's next weekend. $50 a person, dinner and comedy show with 3 comedians. If you want, text me and I can forward you this. I can forward you this invite if anybody's interested in a comedy show. They're usually pretty good. All right. Everybody got the notes and highlights? Anybody still writing? No? All right. All right, cooperation with other licensees. How many times have I said this? When we get listings, we have to put them in the MLS. That's how we cooperate with other licensees. Unless who tells us not to? The owner. And then we need to get them to sign whether those cover our booty forms, which is called the waiver of broker cooperation agreement. So this way we have evidence now that they are the ones that directed us not to cooperate with other brokers. Any listing needs to be put in the MLS within 48 hours, and any written offer has to be forwarded or presented within 24 hours. All probably exam questions. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, there's about 4 exam questions right here. All right.
Where's this at?
This is page 188. I'm not even on page 188 myself, so I guess I should turn there, right? 188. Oh. This is under cooperation with other licensees, right in the middle of the page, the first paragraph there. I know, I got to update the screenshot of this. Slightly different layout, but the wording is basically the same. Okay. Okay. Take a picture so that I have it. And I can update the slideshow. All right. Then negotiability of commissions. That's the next paragraph there. I guess we just put a highlight of that and then put a circle around this. Well, actually, you don't need to do that. But this is the disclosure because all commissions are negotiable. And we put that statement on a lot of advertising and such anytime we mention a commission rate or amount. To show that we do not engage in an illegal practice called price fixing. So anytime we enter into a contract with a for sale by owner, or we advertise and we talk about a commission rate or amount, we have to put this disclosure in the contract or in the ad that says, as seller, you have the right to individually reach an agreement on any fee, commission, or other valuable consideration with any broker. And no fee, commission, or other consideration has been fixed by any governmental authority or by any trade association or multiple listing service. So, sellers are no longer required to pay the commission for the buyer's side that gets split. So in the past, they'd pay the total commission, and then we split it with whoever the agency is that brings in the buyer. But because of that NAR lawsuit, well, they don't need to do that anymore. Now, I try to convince every buyer, every seller, you should do that. Otherwise, you're putting a huge additional financial burden on buyers and really cutting back on the potential number of buyers that would be interested in buying your home. Because not only do they need to get a loan to buy your house, have the down payment money, have money for all the inspections, attorney fees, and this and that and the other thing, they also need to have the money for the closing costs. But now they also need to, in addition to all that stuff, have the money to pay their agent's commission, which previously was taken out of the sales price. And that purchase price, let's face it, is being financed by the buyer anyway. And that commission is actually being paid by the buyer. So the seller looks at it as their money because it's coming out of the proceeds, but it's the buyer that's paying it. And they could finance it this way in their mortgage loan. But they couldn't do that if the seller refuses to pay and split that commission. Now that's additional money the buyer needs to pull out of their pocket. So you're greatly going to reduce the number of buyers that can afford houses. So this NAR lawsuit that was touted across all the media, every news agency out there saying this is a good thing for the consumer. It'll save them money, even bring down the prices of real estate. No, it'll just make it more expensive for buyers. So I suggest that, I mean, you could charge anybody commission, however much you charge them, but now, is the seller going to allow you to split the commission that they pay you? That's the question to be had here. Or are you going to require the buyer to pay their own commission? See, that's the thing now. How would we know if the seller is paying the commission that's offering to be split to the other agent? It's not put in the MLS anymore. There's no mention of commissions in the MLS. You got to actually pick up the phone and call the other listing agent, every listing agent for every property you see, or set up an appointment for to find out who's paying the commission. So you know if this is a property your buyer can afford. Because that's a conversation you have when you're working with buyers now, these days. You have to know that the seller can or doesn't have to pay the commission. Do you want me to show you properties where the seller is not agreeing to pay the commission that's split with the buyer's agent? If not, you're going to need to have that additional money to pay my commission, my fee. Do you want me just not to show you those properties? Or are you still willing to? All right, now commission rates are negotiable between the listing broker and the seller and or the buyer and the licensee assisting them in the brokerage service agreements. All listing agreements for 1 to 4 family dwellings must contain a notice that in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable, even if a brokerage service agreement is not combined with it discussing the commission fees. All right. Here's an example, a screenshot from the All Jersey MLS listing agreement, which does not talk about commissions at all other than this statement. But the new listing agreement, there's no lines for commission like the old ones used to have. I guess they chickened out for some reason and did not include it in their listing agreements. Yes, they don't want to be involved in possible future lawsuits. But it still has a disclosure as required by law in them that says you have the right to individually reach an agreement on any fee, commission, or other valuable consideration with any broker, and no fee, commission, or other consideration has been fixed by any governmental authority or trade association or multiple listing service. And here's from the Garden State MLS listing agreement, and it has the same disclosure on there. However, their listing agreements do have lines to put the commission in it because it's a combined listing and brokerage service agreement. And once again, here's just a slide that talks about what price fixing is and what law makes it illegal. What law makes price fixing illegal, guys? Can't hear you. What law makes price fixing?
Antitrust.
I'm sorry?
The Sherwin?
Sherman, yes.
Sherman.
The Sherman Antitrust Act, yes. And And what is price fixing? Come on, everybody should be unmuting their mics and shouting at me right now what price fixing is.
To establish an industry standard on commission rate charged to the public.
Somebody's reading it to me. All right. Well, yeah, you guys need to know this. It's when you have two different agents from competing firms talking about the fees for the services they perform, trying to set an industry standard for pricing. In those instances, you should separate yourself from those slightest discussions with agents from competing firms about the fees you charge for the services you perform. Okay. All right. So we got the seller's property condition disclosure report. When we get a listing, we get the owners to fill that information out. We tell them to fill it out fully with as much information as you can and to be honest. And by doing this, there's nothing that could prevent somebody from suing you. But by doing this, I'm helping limit your liability in the event of a lawsuit. Because if you don't fill it out or you don't disclose something or you're dishonest about it, courts can hold you liable for triple the actual cost of the damages. And the Attorney General's memorandum that needs to be given to the owner at the time we get a listing tells them they need to follow state and federal laws and can't discriminate. And if they tell us they plan on discriminating, we got to do what? Refuse the listing. Listing commissions, they have to be handwritten in the buyer's brokerage service agreement or the listing agreement. And the expiration date, all listing agreements have to have an expiration date, otherwise they're not valid. So some more exam questions on this slide. And some great information. All right. That Attorney General's memorandum, once again, it talks about the New Jersey law against discrimination. We give it to the owner at the time we get a listing. Not the LAD, but the Attorney General's memorandum. So the New Jersey Real Estate Commission requires brokers. Let's highlight that on page 188. This is the last paragraph on page 188. Sorry. Okay, so on 189, once again, all exclusive listings must specify an exact termination date. You think it's going to be on exam? How many times did they mention it already? How many times we highlighted already? In this chapter and other chapters. It's going to be on exam. All right. Sometimes people, when we go in to get listings, property owners say, well, how long of a listing do you need? Well, I don't even talk about this. I just put down, I write it on a piece of paper, how start date, end date. I'm going to put down 6 months or a year, depending on how long I think it's going to take me to sell this property. Hopefully I sell it in a day and I get a contract on it tomorrow, but I need time to let the thing work. I can't predict when buyers are going to come and if they're going to put pen to paper and make an offer. So when sometimes some homeowners ask us to justify the listing period, well, I'll say, oh, thanks for bringing it up. I'll explain to you how absorption rates work. An absorption rate is a theory that says technically how long it'll take for a property to sell. So I need at minimum that length of time of a listing. So you take the number of homes currently on the market in the area, and you divide it by the number of homes that sold in that area last month. And that'll give you the absorption rate, the absorption period. Tells us in theory, how long it'll take for the market to absorb all of those properties on the market. Okay. Now, we know not all homes were going to sell because some are just overpriced and the owner refuses to look at reality. Sometimes it could be due to showing restrictions and other things. So this theory takes into consideration, it does not take into consideration the fact that more homes will be coming onto the market, or the number of buyers are going to remain the same as there were last month. It assumes the number of buyers remains constant and that no new homes are going to come on the market, which we know that's not going to happen. More homes are going to come on the market. So this absorption period tells us, in theory, how long it would take for our homes, for the market to absorb all the homes currently on the market for sale. If no new homes come on the market, and we know more will, and if the number of buyers remains constant. We can't know that for sure. So this absorption period is a ballpark guesstimate of the minimum listing time we need to try to sell your property. But either way, I'm writing 6 months or a year. I don't care what this absorption rate period tells us here. Minimum 6 months or a year for the listing. If I sell it in less time, great. If not, well, stuff happens. Listings, maybe you get into a contract, the deal falls apart. We put it back on the market, try to get another buyer. We need time to try to sell your home. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I need you to help me help you sell your property by giving me enough time. All right. Length of listing period. By the way, absorption rates, you're not going to see this on exam. However, you will definitely use them and you will definitely see them, and you may talk to property owners about them. Okay, so how do we overcome objections? This is something your broker should be teaching you. You go in for a listing. The seller says, well, my home is nicer, so it should sell quicker, so you don't need as long as a listing period. Okay, well, how much are you asking for it? Do you want top market value too? Because I'm sure you think your house is the unique gem in your neighborhood. Remember that image with the mansion there? Picture that homeowner. That's this one. Okay. So is the listing, did you list the property at my suggested price, or do you just want to try it higher for a little while? What about showing availability? Are there any pets or restrictions on showing times? People have allergies and certain odors that you, as the homeowner, have become nose blind to. You ever hear that? You guys ever see those Febreze commercials? Have you gone nose blind? You ever see those? This is actually a term I use when going in to get listings, when people's houses have unique odors to them. You still got to talk to homeowners about uncomfortable things, trying not to insult them either. Okay? Here. I'll use a video like this when talking to a homeowner.
Sadly, Angela's gotten used to the odor her cat leaves in the couch. She no longer smells it. Yep, she's gone nose blind. We staged an intervention to help her sister break the news.
To the left. This is exactly what your house smells like.
For real?
Yes.
Oh, you are tripping, really?
Febreze Fabric Refresher eliminates pet odors you've gone nose blind to.
Smells good.
One of the many ways.
It is so true. I know you guys, I don't know if it's you, your friends, your family, you know somebody, you walk into their house and you could smell their unique scent. It could be whether the house is clean or whether they're cooking or because they have pets or because the house is filthy. It could be a lot of reasons for it to have unique scents. Some are pleasant, some not so much. Some are just different. People's smells. Okay, but they go nose blind to them. They don't even smell it anymore. But potential buyers will, and you as an agent need to bring that up to them without insulting them. So using a video like this isn't even a bad idea. Here's another one.
You get used to pet odors in your car. You think it smells fine, but your passengers smell this. Eliminate odors you've gone nose blind to for up to 30 days with the Febreze Car Vent Clip.
Wow, it smells good in here.
So you and your pet.
All right, now this isn't meant to be an ad for Febreze. It's meant to just alert people that they have unique odors in their house that people will, when they go shopping for them, they're gonna be like, "What the hell is that smell?" I had allergies. Oh no, I'm not interested. You know.
You get used.
People got litter boxes. Make sure you clean them out. Make sure you use a better quality litter in your kitty's litter box, so it doesn't have that nasty. What's that smell called? Not acidic. It's not bleach. Begins with an A, I think it is. Oh, whatever it is. It's got
Ammonia.
yeah, that ammonia smell from the urine in that kitty litter thing. That's right. Thank you very much. That's awful. You know, but some people go nose blind. They don't realize it because they're around it all the time. Like these guys.
You get used to rooms smelling of sweaty odors. Yep, you've gone nose blind. You think it smells fine, but others smell this. Use new Febreze Fabric Refresher for your hard-to-wash fabrics.
Yeah, I mean, it paints the picture for us perfectly in a comedic way without offending people. You know.
You get.
All right. So how long of a listing do I need? Well, let's see how to overcome some of the sellers of the property owners' objections. They'll tell you, well, my home's nicer, so it should sell quicker. How much are you asking for it? Are there restrictions on the showing times? Do you got to be home every time they show? Or does somebody need to come out and take your pet out of the house? You know, do we only show houses on certain days between certain times? It may take longer to show. Is the listing price correct? Did the seller want to try a higher price? What about showing availability? Are there any pets? We may have restricted showing times because of that, or somebody needs to take the animal out of the house or put them in a room somewhere. Sometimes people have allergies and odors need to be addressed. They may have gone nose blind too. What about the condition of the home? Is it modern, updated, or is it older, falling apart, or, you know, where exactly is it? What about the curb appeal? Curb appeal is a thing. I've driven up to a house with potential buyers and we pulled up to the front of the house and they were like, nope, not interested. We didn't even get in yet. You don't even want to give it a try, a little look-see? It can look like crap on the outside, and on the inside it could be beautiful. You never know. I mean, usually it's not, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it may surprise you. Okay. Showing condition. Your house needs to be that shiny penny on the block. A good demonstration for this, carry around a bunch of pennies, all dirty, nasty pennies in your pocket, and have that one clean, nice, shiny penny, and drop them on the table and say, pick one up. Most of the time, they're going to gravitate towards that clean, shiny penny to pick up. That's your house. Your house needs to be that shiny penny on the block. Otherwise, people are going to avoid it just like you did all those other ones. Okay? Give them that little example. Yeah, it is a little bit of a show. Salesman, it's part of showmanship, right? A little showmanship involved there, right? So, is your house in that HGTV clean showing condition or not? Your bed needs to be made every day. Dirty clothes, they need to actually make it to the hamper. Nobody wants to see your crap-stained underwear laying on the floor. Yes, I've shown houses and we've seen that before. It's disgusting. And even though people watch HGTV, they know to look past those things. We're looking at the bones of the house. When people actually see sites like that and actually smell the things, you know, until they come up with smell-o-vision, you know, that'll put a real good impact on the TV shows that they watch when they say, oh, yeah, look at this house for sale to fix and flip. All right. Is the tub drain clean, or do they leave a little fur monster in there? I've seen people, they freaked out. You know, they pull back the curtain, they look inside. Person didn't pick up any hair from the drain. It looks like little fur monsters growing in there. They're like, yeah, can't do it. Thought I could. Thought I could look past it and the bones, but I can't. Does the property have high taxes, or is it in a flood zone? Could take longer to sell. Are we allowed to use a lockbox to put the keys so agents can set up appointments and then show the property at any time? Are we allowed to put a for sale sign on the property or not? Are you trying to make sure that you don't want the neighbors to know it's up for sale. Clutter, hoarders or collectors. If they have nice things, I've had some people, they're not hoard. Typical hoarding is people just collect all kinds of garbage and trash and it's piled to the ceiling throughout their house. But you do have people that collect nice things. You even have people addicted to HG, to all kinds of these program shopping, and they buy stuff. It's still in boxes in their homes. So it's a lot of clutter. Or they could have a lot of nice stuff, but it looks like garbage to anybody who's coming in off the street to want to buy the house. It looks like clutter. So empty that stuff out. Put it in storage. You're going to be moving. You're going to have to move it out anyway. So clear it out now so it makes it easier to show and sell. Does the doorbell work? First impressions mean a lot. You could get a remote controlled doorbell. Doesn't need to be an expensive one to get it to work. Okay. When people see the front door paint is peeling or the doorbell don't work, they're like, damn, we didn't even get in the house. What else is wrong with it? Right? That's the impression. So that condition of the front door, if it's paint's peeling, scrape and paint that. I'm not going to tell property owners, I don't tell them to do all kinds of improvements to houses when I get listings. I don't, because it may not result in a sale. And then they spent all that time and additional money. But with the front door, I'll say scrape it and paint it. Front door is a big impression. Same thing with the doorbell. Your bushes outside, trim them. The grass, cut it. Clean up the kids. Don't have kids' toys laying all over the front lawn or wherever, It looks trashy, okay? Make sure the owner's kids remove any posters that may be offensive or nudies. I've shown houses. We go upstairs to the kids' rooms, right? And we're walking from one room to the other, and we get in the room, and plastered all over the wall are like life-size nude posters of women. And it's like, come on, you're selling your house. Tell your kids to take the pornography off the wall. I'm walking through with a husband and wife and 2 little children through the house, and we got to be exposed to that. It's going to take longer to sell that house. It's a turnoff for buyers. Is the property distressed? We need to know so we can take the right approach to sell it. How much commission are you offering? Are you offering any broker cooperation to pay the buyer's commission? Any chattel included or excluded from the sale? Any seller concessions being offered? Maybe a bonus to the agency that brings in a written offer by a certain date, or offering to pay a portion of the buyer's closing costs out of the proceeds of the sale. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you offering a home warranty? I try to get them to. Either way, whether they buy it or not, I try to get them to sign up for a home warranty so we could add it during the listing term. And then this way, if the hot water heater goes or the furnace goes or something, boom, it's covered, even if they didn't pay for the warranty during that trial period. Most home warranty companies offer such coverages. And then I tell them, this is good for you to buy, even if it costs you $600. It's good for you to buy for the potential buyers and advertise that you're offering a 1-year home warranty with the sale of this house. So any potential buyers that get it, they get their home inspections. What do you need to renegotiate about? I'm giving you a 1-year home warranty. What do you want? A lifetime warranty? It ain't happening. You ain't buying a house like that, right? I'll give you a 1-year warranty. Who cares if the water heater is past its life expectancy, right? It's still working. And I'm going to give you a 1-year warranty that if it dies within the next year, boom, it's covered. Right? That'll help you out a lot, actually. All right. How do we price the property when we get listings? How do we help people price their properties? We do a CMA, comparative market analysis, right? We do BPOs for banks in exchange for a fee, but for consumers for free, we do a CMA. We help the buyers so they know what kind of offer to make on a house. We help the sellers to help establish a reasonable asking price. So I told you to take that CMA workshop with Ottawa. Has anybody looked in on that yet? Checked in with them? It's definitely worth a look-see, taking that course. All right. Now, the actual selling price is determined by who? It's determined by the buying public. However much the ready, willing, and able buyer is willing to put the offer on paper and commit to making. So it's the buying public that sets the actual sale price. The asking price is set by the owner, hopefully with guidance from you with your comparative market analysis to help them reach a reasonable asking price. So let's do the highlights. Page 189. Okay, so the price of the real estate is of the primary importance. Even though it is the responsibility of you, the broker or salesperson, to advise and counsel and assist the homeowner, it's ultimately up to the homeowner to decide what their asking price is for their property. However, because the average seller usually does not have the background to make an informed decision on the fair market price, the fair market value of their property, the real estate agent has to be prepared to offer their knowledge, skills, and information because you're supposed to be the expert on this stuff. So we prepare a CMA. So a broker or salesperson can help the seller determine the listing price by doing a comparative market analysis. This is a comparison of the prices of recently sold homes that are similar in size, style, location, condition, amenity to the subject property to help determine a reasonable value. So although it does have a resemblance to an appraisal, we should never call it that. As a matter of fact, we have to put disclosures on our CMAs that this is not an appraisal and should not be considered the equivalent of one, which is done by a licensed appraiser. CMA must never be called an appraisal. There we go. Everybody got these highlights? Got them, good. Continue, page 190, it's highlight, the broker should convey to the seller the fact that the eventual selling price is set by the buying public through the operation of supply and demand. It's on the bottom of page 190. All right. Now I got some extra slides. We're obviously done with this chapter, but I got a few extra slides here for you, like explaining to you about the CMA. Your broker should be teaching you this stuff. You should take the Ottawa class on how to do CMAs, but it's our job to learn how to do these. Why do we include, so this is the information we include in CMA presentations here. The active properties on the market, the under contract, the sold, expired listings. We talk about days on the market and advertised days on the market. So why do we show the seller of a property, an owner, the active listings, their competition? Well, we just want to show them what other homes, how many other homes are on the market. We're not showing them to look at the price, their asking prices, because so far they failed to sell. We're just showing them what the competition looks like, the other homes on the market out there. That's the only reason why we show them active listings. The under contracts, we also don't know what the offer price was that was accepted, which could be radically different than the asking price. However, we use this just to show the activity where buyers are actually making offers that sellers are finding acceptable. So it's to look at the activity in the marketplace. You could call up the listing agent. They're not going to tell you how much this sold for and what the asking price or what the accepted price was. However, the solds, that's how we find out. the recently sold properties in the area. That's how we establish the asking price for the home that we're trying to list. Why do we show expired listings? Well, we want to show them what failed to sell so that they hopefully don't end up there either. See, so far, these active listings, they're on the path of failure because none of them got offers. You don't want to be up there with them and matching your price with them. Let's take a look at these expired listings. Some of these active listings are probably also previously expired. Let's see how many times they listed them. We show the owners what failed to sell and why. Usually they'll probably blame the real estate agent. And that's fine. Maybe it is the real estate agent's fault. Let's take a look. Did they do enough puffing in the ad? Did they take enough pictures? Were they good quality pictures? Was the agent lazy? Did they take a picture on when the sun was behind the house and it washed out all the color that made it a black and white photo? Come on, you guys got high resolution, high quality photos on your cell phone. Does anybody here not have a halfway decent camera on your cell phone these days? Anybody? No. So, I mean, you don't need to go out and buy expensive camera equipment or even hire professional photographers to do it. You could take quality photos with your cell phone, but just know how to do it. You know, if it's garbage day, come back later after garbage cans are taken in. Don't take a picture of the house that you put in the MLS to market it for sale with a line of garbage cans in front of the house, right? That's not good sales. Or with no picture of the front of the house. I've seen ones where people only have pictures of the interior and maybe a picture of the back of the house, which is odd, you know. So let's take a look at what was the asking price. Were they overpriced? Let's take a look at was the agent doing puffing properly? Enough puffing? Did they offer a broker cooperation with the commission or not? These are all factors that could have played a role. This is why we call it a presentation. We do a CMA, comparative market analysis. We're analyzing these things for the homeowner. We also let's take a look, see if they gave that listing agent a long enough time to market the property. Let's look at the days on the market. How about this? Let's look at the advertised days on the market. If that's different than the days on the market, that tells us right off the bat, maybe they had a delayed showing or they try to do one of these coming soon listing things. Let's take a look. That's all part of your job when you're doing these presentations. Here's some objections we could go over when it comes to overpricing the house. The property owner tells you, yeah, but I need to get so much from my house when I sell it because I got to put so much down for this and I got to put this and I got to do this and I got to need money for this and that and the other thing that the buyer does not give a crap about, right? Buyers don't care how much you need to get. They care about what the actual value of the property is. So anytime an owner tells you, well, I need to get this much money, you could delve into that conversation and be like, well, why do you need to get it? And why would a buyer care how much you need to get? You know, it's a direct question, and you got to smack them down to reality by asking. Well, I could have gotten so much if I sold my house last year. Well, then why didn't you sell it last year? I mean, currently we're in a different marketplace. Depending on if the market values are higher or lower, this is usually an argument when the property values are lower. You know, well, then you should have sold it last year. This is an argument that comes up when we are in declining markets. Now, but I put so much money in the house to do these improvements, I'm not going to get all my money back if I accept this price. Well, guess what? Not all improvements to real estate pay back 100%. Like a pool. You guys know how much a swimming pool costs? An in-ground swimming pool to install it? Anybody?
Yes.
What's that?
A lot of money, probably like $60,000 or $70,000.
It
Not
depends on if it's the already constructed ones or if it's concrete. If it's concrete, they're well over 150. If it's already the PVC, they could go from 60 to 80, depending how big the size is.
All right. Let's just say that we find a pool company that'll install it for 30 grand. We got a bargain. All right. So we got a company that will install that brand new pool for $30,000. Just trying to open something up to share with you guys. That's not it. You know, I tell you guys, you should really go to these CMA workshops. They give you all kinds of information. Yeah, I'm scrolling through one right now. The last one I went to here was just a housing forecast market. Let's see. Gives you all kinds of information that we go over. All right. That's what I was looking for. The adjustment guide. I go full page with this. Let's take a look at this adjustment guide. Let's go down to in-ground pools. For a home in the value range of up to $250,000. Here, let's say this. Forget about 250. Let's go a little bit above that. So anything above 250 to about $400,000 range. Let's see how much more will that in-ground pool make the home worth, regardless of how much you paid to install it. Let's just say we got a bargain and we installed it for $30,000. It'll make the house worth $12,000 more, or 3%. Do you get all your money back from that improvement? No. Does it make your house worth more? Yes. How much more? Doesn't pay back the whole improvement cost. Right? Now, some people will be like, well, you know, that's a liability. You put that out there, you know, some people don't want pools, you know, because what if, you know, now your insurance goes up and then your taxes go up. My answer to you is, then this house is not for you. Yeah, you know, but it definitely makes the property worth more. And sure, it may increase your taxes because taxes are based on the value of the home, and therefore your house is worth more. Boom. Yeah, it'll make your taxes go up a little bit. What about the desirability factor, though? Goes up through the roof. A lot of people like swimming pools. You're right. Some people don't. Well, then this house ain't for you. But there's a lot of people out there that would love one. And if they buy a house and it's got one, especially if it's in good condition, you don't want those ones that got trees growing through them, right? I got stories. I got stories. Want me to show you a story? Here, I'll show you one. Let's take a look at. This was not my listing. This was a house I showed a buyer that had a neglected pool. I'll show it to you in a second. I'm trying to find my Zoom screen control. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Pulling away from the concrete, the walls. This water is green. You can't even see the bottom. Hold on, we're not done with this yet. There's a better picture of it. Ah, lovely pool, isn't it? Pulling away, you got trees growing up from behind it. Rust holes in the liner. But this could be repaired. If you got the vision.
It's more expensive to get rid of it.
Well, you fill it.
No, some townships
Get out.
don't allow it anymore. They want the whole thing out, especially if it's concrete. They want some. It depends on the township.
Yeah, they want the concrete ripped out and then it filled. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this. You even got a little friend there. See that? The pool was full of frogs.
The frog comes with the sale.
Frog comes with the sale. It's all yours. All right. Not every that you sell is in HGTV showing condition, my friends. Here, let me show you a house where we had tenants that we needed to get out of there before we put this up for sale because this recently remodeled house got destroyed by some of these tenants. All right. You want to see what kind of tenants we had in this one 2-family house? Check this out. No bathroom door. It was ripped off its hinges. The toilet seat is broken off. That place is a disgusting mess. Holes punched in the wall. Holes. What were they doing? Throwing knives at the wall or something? Garbage piled everywhere, attracting the roaches. Look at this. Garbage just sitting everywhere. Junk everywhere. It's filthy. Ugh. They've destroyed this place. Holes everywhere. That's the garage. Disgusting. Probably a stolen bike. The bong isn't included in the house sale. Not that you want it. So what are you supposed to do? Show a house like this? Destroyed like this? Filthy like this with a bong? For them to do their drugs there? Well, yeah. Sometimes it is what it is. You got to sell the house the way it is. You'd ask the tenants to clean up, but you'd be lucky if you just get an appointment that you could get in. By the way, this pricing guide that I showed you, this is something that you get when you go to the Ottawa classes. They give you these updated pricing guides that are based on the sales of homes in New Jersey that are on the market and off the market. What about if a house is on a dead-end street, a private road, a cul-de-sac? Does that make your house worth more or less?
More, but apparently it didn't sell over here.
Let's take a look. So privacy and cul-de-sac, yeah. For in a $250,000 price range, it affects the price by 2% or $5,000 more. In a $400,000 price range, by $13,000. $750,000 price range, $20,000. You know, all the way up to $2.5 million price range and above. You know, then it goes up to 2.6%, $65,000 difference for just being on a quiet road versus a busy road. The same house, right? So the location of the property can make a difference. What about being within 100 feet of those high tension power lines? Definitely going to make it worth less, right? But how much less? See, using guides like this, we could quantify this. We could see it's, okay, 1.2% less or 1.8%, depending on the price range that the home is in. This is an excellent guide. I highly recommend you take this class with these guys. You know, I have no affiliation with them whatsoever, but you get all kinds of guides and presentations like this that help you out when it comes to valuing homes. Otherwise, how do you make adjustments for the differences because a house has an extra half bath or it doesn't? Or improvements. So they added some things here for improvements and such. Okay. Does it have a porch? Does it have a walkout basement? Does it have a garage? Is it built in or attached or detached? All these things, they make a difference. All right. Let's finish up this chapter and wrap this up. So, homeowner could give you an excuse. Well, I put more money in my house for improvements. Well, not, like I said, not all improvements pay back 100%. And, but the house down the street sold for this much money. Okay, well, are we comparing apples to apples? We got to make sure, is that house similar to yours in the architectural style, size, amenity, condition, age? Those factors play a role whether you could get that much for your house or not. We got to make adjustments for all those differences. Or if they just want to try it higher just for a little while, this should be your response, guys. By the way, you should take a screenshot of this because I'm giving you good answers here for how to respond to some of these questions. You know, if someone says they just want to try it for a higher price for a little while, your answer should be to them that the first few weeks a listing is on the market are the most crucial during this introductory period to the marketplace. Listings can get stale if they're overpriced, and the longer that they're on the market, the more buyers will question what's wrong with it. There's got to be something wrong with it, right? So the first price reduction is probably more than the total commission we were charging them to begin with. Yet they're going to haggle with us over a 0.5% or 1% of a commission that we charge them, which is ridiculous, seeing as when their first price reduction, when they overprice homes, is usually more than our entire commission that we charge them, which is insane. And they don't have a problem with that, but they have a problem with it when it comes to us getting paid to do our job. So don't get caught. Tell the homeowner, don't get caught chasing the market by overpricing the property at the beginning stages, or you may end up losing a lot more than anticipated, especially in a declining market, let alone a stable one. All right. So what does chasing the market mean? Well, if we have a declining market, okay, this is my suggested list price on par with other homes similar to yours. However, the market's starting to drop. Other homes drop the market value drops. You're still up here because you're overpricing it. And you did not lower the price to my suggested amount down to here because you started higher. Now you finally decide that you're going to lower the price. However, the market value dropped further. So now you drop. Well, now I dropped my price to your suggested price. Yes, but you're chasing the market because every drop you make, unless you make a drastic one, you'll never catch up. You're going to have to make a drastic price drop to catch up with the market. Otherwise, you'll be forever chasing the market if the market value is here and you don't lower your value until the market drops even more. And now you're like this. You're chasing the market, okay? That's what chasing the market is. Here's another question. It's a serious question, too. When you agree upon an asking price with the homeowner, ask them, what will you do if you get full price offer the first day or even the first week your property is listed? I've come across this situation before where the property owner finally agreed to list it at my asking price, which was lower than theirs, what they wanted originally. And we got an offer. First week, first couple days, full price offer. The owner's like, whoa, that was a little quick. Maybe we're not asking enough for it. Or maybe all the stars were in alignment for you. That you listed your property for sale at the suggested price, taking my expert advice, and you priced it properly. You priced it perfectly at a time where the stars were in alignment, where there was a buyer that was looking for a home in this area, in this price range with those features, and they made an offer and they saw the value there, so they made a full price offer on it. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But yet the homeowner said, no, it's too soon. I don't think we priced it properly. We shouldn't be getting offers that quick. So they counter offered it with a higher price than the asking price. The seller was like, the buyer was like, screw you, I'm out of here, and they disappeared. They rescinded their offer. So the seller's like, so what? Okay, we raised the asking price now in the listing. That's not a bright idea to do that. Well, that's what we want to do because we think your price was too low because we got an offer too quick. Okay. So we raised it at their asking price now, a higher asking price. I had a year-long listing on this. 1 year. This was the first week we got an offer of full price. Not another offer came in for the remainder of the year. Not one. Not even people trying to make a lowball offer, No further offers. People saw it was overpriced. They didn't even want to see it. So I wouldn't even explain that scenario to them. You could even if you're new to the industry, you go in for listings and people want to overprice the house. you could even tell them, well, I know another agent in my office, or I know another agent that this happened to. And what they did is the homeowner got the offer, the full asking price too soon, and then they pushed back on it, and then they never got another offer on the house again. Do you want to be that person rejecting the gift horse in the mouth, or looking that gift horse in the mouth and rejecting that offer that you got when all the stars were perfect alignment for you? Not a good idea. Okay, so this is the end of chapter 10. So close that out. Let's do the key terms to review. There's only 5 of them here. So, organization of brokers who work to sell each other's listings.
Multiple listing service.
Yes, 4 is A. Price comparison for seller's use when listing.
Comparative market analysis.
Yeah, comparative market analysis. 1 is B. Listing given to any number of brokers, only the selling broker is paid.
Open listing.
It's an open listing. Yes, 6 is C. A listing that promises brokers will be paid unless the owner sells on their own. And then they don't have to pay a commission.
Exclusive.
Oh, go ahead. Exclusive agency listing.
Exclusive agency listing. 2 is D, correct. A listing that states that the broker will be paid no matter who brings the buyer.
Exclusive rights to sell listing.
Exclusive right to sell listing. 3 is E. And an illegal listing that the broker keeps everything above a certain figure.
Net listing.
Net listing. 5 is F. All right. So chapter 10 and chapter 11, loads of exam questions from these as well. Okay. Let me throw out there, let me start this